Douluo Dalu summoning the Holy Spirit Sect. From the beginning, this video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyright or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 26. Tianxing unites, and there is no ripple in the heart. Chapter 26. Tianxing united, and there was no ripple in his heart. Nian'an ordered the great snow dragon riders and Xiaoyao to slowly kill the trapped 350,000 troops at the lowest cost. Perhaps, by leaving these 350,000 enemy troops to trade with the Tianxing Empire, Nian'an could easily obtain a large amount of military funds, so that the pensions for the 100,000 soldiers who died in this battle would also be available. There would also be military funds for launching a second war in the future. But Nian'an did not do so. First, he is not short of money now. The annexation of the Tianxing Kingdom, the Nian'an Kingdom, the Xiaoyao, and the corrupt officials killed before, made Nian'an's wallet bulge a long time ago. The total amount exceeded 20 million, close to 30 million. Of course, this money cannot be compared with the two empires. Perhaps in 10,000 years, even a few better soul bonds cannot be afforded. But what Nian'an wants to say is that this is dough, and a gold soul coin is enough for an ordinary family to live for a year. In addition, except for those summoned by the system, the salary of other people is not high. It is nothing more than a higher pension for death in battle. But even so, the annual military expenditure is only 3 million. Nian'an basically does not have to pay for this money, because the annual tax of the territory owned by the Ming Empire is more than this. What's more, the royal family has many businesses within the Ming Empire. It is in a state where there is some money for money and a lot of people for people. Instead of letting them go and giving them the opportunity to attack him again, Nian'an might as well kill them directly to eliminate future troubles. Mingdo Canyon, watch them for me, don't let any Tianxing soldiers go. Freeze them to death, freeze their bedding to death. TM, destroy my guards, and you won't have a good life. Xiaoyao looked at the shivering, cold and hungry Tianxing soldiers in the canyon, and the killing intent in his eyes did not diminish at all. At this time, he was pierced by 3 arrows, but the pain from the arrows could not compare to the pain from deep in his heart. 100,000 guards, this was the first army when he entered the court as an official. Now it's gone, all killed by these bastards. Xiaoyao is the one who wants to massacre the Tianxing army the most. In the Tianxing army. Marshal, it's not good, thousands of soldiers have been frozen to death, and it won't be long before this situation will occur on a large scale. Without fire, food, hot water, and in the extreme cold and harsh conditions, most of us can't survive more than 3 days. The middle-aged man wearing Mingguan armor and carrying a red cloak had his pupils shrink when he heard this. Are you really going to surrender? The main force of the Tianxing Empire, more than 300,000 people surrendered, which is a shame for the empire. If this matter is reported back to the country, with low morale, the Tianxing Empire will launch a second attack on the Ming Empire. There is no need to think about it, and it can be directly announced that the military action against the Ming Empire has been defeated. An empire that has existed for thousands of years and is powerful has never fought a kingdom that just wants to become an emperor. It's simply ridiculous. Unfortunately, the reality is now in front of him. Bring me a pen. Swish, swish, swish. After a while, the letter of surrender was written, and 10 minutes later, the letter of surrender was delivered to Xiaoyao. Looking at the letter of surrender in his hand, Xiaoyao's eyes flickered, and he finally put it down. Report, His Majesty's Imperial Edict. Xiaoyao took the Imperial Edict, opened it, and a sentence came into his eyes. Cooperate with the Great Snow Dragon Cavalry to trap and kill all the Tianxing army. Great Snow Dragon Cavalry. Hearing the name of this army, Xiaoyao's head was confused. But he soon thought of the army that cooperated with them to besiege the Tianxing army this time. They also held the flag of the Ming dynasty. They must be the Great Snow Dragon Cavalry mentioned by His Majesty. Looking at the letter of surrender on the side, Xiaoyao did not hesitate at all, picked up a handful and threw it on the ground, stepping on it again and again. Surrender. Why did he wait in the snow for a day and a night? He surrendered and said he would not fight. So many of his guards died in vain. Impossible. Time passed by little. The marshal of the Tianxing army found something wrong. The surrender letter he wrote was ignored. He felt a pang in his heart, and an ominous premonition came to his mind. Not good, Marshal, the number of wounded soldiers who have frozen to death has exceeded 10,000 now. Even normal ordinary soldiers, many of them have frostbite and pustules. Upon hearing this news, the marshal's face turned pale. Brothers, do you still have the strength to fight? On the other side, the 500,000 strong army of the Tiando Empire lost contact, and the entire Tiando Empire was in chaos. How is it possible? How is this possible? 500,000, a full 500,000 people, how can they just disappear? 500,000 against the mere 400,000 troops of the Ming dynasty, the advantage is mine. What's more, the 400,000 troops of the Ming dynasty have to be dispersed in the Nian'an kingdom to resist the surprise attack of Xiaoyao. As countless scouts patrolled and investigated in the Tiando Empire, there was no. The Gilai city that they were going to attack and liberate this time had already become a dilapidated and desolate city, empty and full of corpses. Only now did the Tiando Empire panic. The neighboring Hargunda's kingdom was silent when it heard the news. King Hargunda's tossed and turned all night, unable to sleep, and only felt a chill on his neck. The next morning, he personally led the envoys to the Ming palace. He only asked the other party to let their Hargunda's kingdom go once because he had let him go in the past and did not really bring the army to the Ming border. 500,000 troops disappeared strangely when attacking the Ming border. This is a full 500,000 people, enough to sweep all the kingdoms. It is also almost half of the Tiando Empire's troops. Now Hargunda's knows why Nian'an has the confidence to be independent and proclaim himself emperor. The next day, the Tiando Empire's envoys also went to the Ming Empire. The atmosphere was extremely awkward when the Tiando Empire's envoys and the Hargunda's envoys met at the Ming palace. However, on the first day of their arrival in the Ming Empire, both were turned away, and Nian'an refused to see anyone. In the early morning of the third day, ding, congratulations to the host for completing the main task, launching the first battle of the empire, and killing 500,000 enemies. The next day, the Tiando Empire's envoys met Nian'an as they wished. Oh, as long as you return your soldiers, will you recognize my Ming dynasty as the emperor? No, my envoy, have you not figured out the situation yet? When did my Ming dynasty need others' consent and recognition to do something? If you don't agree, keep fighting. I, Nian'an, will accompany you to the end. After hearing Nian'an's words, the Tiando envoys looked ugly. Of course we cannot interfere with the choices and decisions of His Majesty the Great Ming, but we don't know why our Tiando army disappeared at the border of the Great Ming. If His Majesty the Great Ming knows the reason, please give us some advice. We Tiando are willing to withdraw our troops. Hearing this, Nian'an's mouth slowly curled up a smile. What? The Tiando army? Sorry, if you had come yesterday, I might have left you with hundreds of thousands, but now, after hearing Nian'an's words, the pupils of the Tiando envoy shrank fiercely. At noon, the other party ran back in disgrace. The next day, a shocking news came from the two empires. The Tiando Empire and the Xiaoyao Empire signed a non-aggression treaty. When this news reached Nian'an's ears, Nian'an's mouth curled up a smile, and his heart was calm. Next, there is no recommendation for this book. Alas, the trial failed and was forced to be put on the shelves, which made me have no motivation at all. Chapter 27. Emperor Ming is cruel and murderous, which is intolerable to heaven, and Xiaoyao declares war. Chapter 27. Emperor Ming was cruel and murderous. Heaven would not tolerate this. Xiaoyao sent out troops. In fact, when the Tiando envoys came, the army of the Tiando Empire was not completely dead. At the time, under the command of Marshal Tiando, the Tiando army launched several rounds of breakouts. Unfortunately, facing the great snow dragon riders with full cold resistance and the dragon guards with unparalleled combat power, it was not difficult to think that several rounds of breakouts not only failed. Instead, they accelerated their death. Therefore, on the third day, Nian'an met with the Tiando envoys and told him in person that the Tiando army had been destroyed at this time. An army of 500,000 was completely wiped out in less than 7 days, which could cost the Tiando Empire half its life. Fearing the Ming army, they crossed hundreds of miles and struck Tiando city. They signed a non-aggression agreement with the Xiaoyao Empire at the speed of light and united against the Ming Empire. Destroy the Ming Empire, and the Tiando Empire and the Xiaoyao Empire will each take back their respective territories. The Emperor of the Tiando Empire came to the Bara Kingdom overnight on a snowy night. Shake hands with Daishen, the Emperor of the Xiaoyao Empire of the Kingdom of Kilakris, who is in the Xiaoyao Empire camp, and sign the famous non-aggression treaty. Agree to destroy the Third Empire and divide the territory of the Ming dynasty. To be honest, when Zhu Nian'an heard the news, he was really calm. He could have waited a few more years, and when Tianzhou felt threatened and needed a stronger force to restrain the Xingluo Empire, he proposed independence and became the Third Empire. In that case, Tianzhou would not counterattack and send troops to suppress it, and the current situation would not happen, where the two empires jointly sent troops to the Ming Empire. But he did it, and chose the most dangerous time. Zhu Nian'an dared to do this, and he was ready to be targeted. Because he was not afraid. Mingdou Canyon. After searching through all the corpses and making sure that no one survived, Xiaoyao looked at the other side of the border. There was also a bright sun and moon flag, shining brightly. The snow stopped. Xiaoyao wanted to see who the general leading the troops on the opposite side was. Except for the Dragon Guard, they were the strongest army he had ever seen. Unfortunately, after confirming that there were no survivors, the great snow dragon riders led their troops away without stopping. "General, have you sorted out the bodies of the brothers?" After the battle was completely over, Ming Lei slowly appeared with the people at the Holy Spirit Church. They came to clean up the mess, yes, the bodies. The soldiers in the army have strong blood and spirits that ordinary people can't match. These are rare good things of the Holy Spirit Church. They took away the 200,000 troops of the Tianxing Kingdom, the people who died in the Xiaoyao Principality, and the entire country of the Nian'an Kingdom. As a result, the power of the Holy Spirit Church has skyrocketed in a short period of time, and the number of people has reached nearly 3,000. This growth rate is terrible, although most of them are soul warriors with only soul power and no soul rings. It's sorted out, and these remaining bodies will be handed over to you. Ming Lei, the elder of the Holy Spirit Church, nodded when he heard this. Just as Xiaoyao was about to leave, Ming Lei suddenly turned around. "By the way, His Majesty asked us to go to the Xingdou Great Forest with the general to select a suitable soul beast and hunt for the 7th soul ring." Hearing this, Xiaoyao was stunned. After reacting, he was overjoyed. "In this case, I'll trouble the elder." Ming Palace. General Manijifu. General Manijifu. At this time, Zhu Fu was leading rows of palace maids, carrying delicious dishes to the Nian'an Palace. Halfway, he was intercepted by Hagen Days. "Well, I have been in Ming for a long time. I wonder if you can tell Ming Wang about that." At this point, Hagen Days took out a handful of golden beans and stuffed them into Zhu Fu's sleeves. Zhu Fu turned aside calmly to refuse, but left a little gap, which happened to be just enough for the other party to put it in. A eunuch with a knife not far away saw this scene and quietly retreated. Half an hour later. "Your Majesty, it's time to eat." Zhu Nian'an looked at Zhu Fu with indifference. "Zhu Fu, you're an old man. You have been serving our royal family since the generation of the grandfather king. There are some things I don't want to care about." After hearing Zhu Nian'an's words, Zhu Fu's heart skipped a beat. "Your Majesty. A Fu still wants to stay in the palace and serve your Majesty." Zhu Nian'an didn't say anything. He wanted to leave King Hagen Days alone, but he didn't expect that there was no way now. "Let Hagen Days in, let him in alone." Bang. Voila. The next moment, a figure staggered in. Hagen Days pays respects to the great Ming Emperor. Zhu Nian'an didn't even raise his head. His eyes were silently staring at the family list of the soldiers who died in this battle, the pensions that needed to be compensated, and the treatment that the future widows of martyrs needed to be given. My goodness. Zhu Nian'an's voice sounded faintly, but there was no intention to let the other party get up. 1 minute, 10 minutes, 1 hour, 2.5 hours later. Hagen Days was shaking all over, sweating profusely, and cold sweat was pouring down. The scene was silent, with only the sound of Zhu Nian'an flipping through the book. Snap. Closing the registration book in his hand, Zhu Nian'an rubbed his brows. "I know what you mean by come in to me, but I still mean that." Bang. "No, Emperor Ming, this is not the original intention of my Hagen Days kingdom. We never wanted to cross the border of Ming and infringe on the people of Ming. Everything was forced by the Tianzhou Empire. We don't have the strength to disobey. We are not Ming." King Hagen Days didn't hesitate at all, and his head hit the ground heavily. "So, as long as you were given the ability to protect yourself, you will not be threatened by Tianzhou." Swish. King Hagen Days looked up. Puzzled. Snap. The next moment, a book called NATO was thrown in front of King Hagen Days by Zhu Nian'an. "I hope you can understand what I mean." Hagen Days flipped through the book. United Nations, allied countries, one side is harmed, all sides support, common currency. Hargun Days immediately thought of his neighboring countries and the kingdoms on the Tianzong Empire. Yes, he can't fight the empire alone. What about 2, 3, 4, 8? Thank you for the advice of the great Emperor Ming. After saying that, Hargun Days stood up. The next second, a cold gaze was cast over. Did I ask you to stand up? Kneel down. Bang. The next moment, all the windows in the Ming Emperor's palace opened, and a row of exquisite cannons were pushed out. Nian'an slowly walked down the stage and stretched out his hand to Hargun Days. Bang bang boom. The next second, under his gaze, the cannons were activated by the black-robed men one by one, and a mountain was flattened in an instant. How can I let you go home empty-handed after coming to my great Ming? Bring back some local specialties. This is what I give you. I can give it to you, but I can also kill you. Hargun Days' pupils shrank and his body stiffened. Xingluo Empire. The Ming Emperor was cruel and murderous. During his reign of less than 3 months, he killed more than 1 million people, more than the 300 years of the Warring States period. He massacred cities and destroyed countries. Heaven cannot tolerate it. Today, the Xingluo Empire, in compliance with the will of heaven, sent 800,000 troops to fight against the violent men for the dead citizens of the Nian'an Kingdom. Declaration of War. Xingluo Emperor, Daoshen. P.S. Is there anyone else? Chapter 28 Minshi Wang. Chapter 28 Minshi Wang. 3 days later, the declaration of war from the Xingluo Empire was delivered to Nian'an. The envoys who came were from the Xingluo Empire and the Tianzong Empire. Great Ming Emperor, we meet again. Seeing Nian'an, the Tianzong Empire's envoy couldn't help but curl his lips. Didn't expect it. Didn't expect that my Tianzong Empire would put aside its grudges and deal with you first when facing the Xingluo Empire. Aren't you strong and powerful? Aren't you awesome? At this point, the Tianzong Empire's envoy raised his head suddenly. This envoy wants to see, when the Xingluo Empire's 800,000 troops are at the gates of the city, when the Xingluo Empire's army's swords are on your neck, when your Ming dynasty is broken, can you still be so awesome? Hand over the Tianzong army. When the Ming dynasty is broken and you become a prisoner, maybe I can leave you with a whole body. The Tianzong Empire thought that Nian'an was just hiding the news of the Tianzong army. In fact, the Tianzong army was only captured. Think about it, it is actually true. This is 500,000 people, so many laborers. If so many people are captured, they must be good candidates for mining as laborers. Who would have thought that there would be such a madman as Nian'an? Tap. Nian'an took a step forward. The crisp footsteps echoed in the hall. Tap, tap, tap. 2 steps, 3 steps, 4 steps. In a flash, Nian'an appeared in front of the Tianzong envoy. You are here, commanding me. The 5 faint words rang out, and the Tianzong envoy's body stiffened. Before he could react, Nian'an's right hand flashed, and a long sword appeared in his hand. What do you want to do? What do you want to do? 2 countries at war do not kill envoys, do you know? Hearing this, Nian'an's mouth curled up a smile. It's okay for 2 countries to not kill envoys at war, but it doesn't say that they can't be injured. Choke as a flash of cold light passed by, the Tianzong envoy only felt his ears numb. The next moment, countless blood spilled. Pick up your ears, don't dirty my palace. After saying that, Nian'an looked at the envoy of the Xingluo Empire. I don't want to listen to this declaration of war, but you can't not read it. I'll give you a chance to read it to those who want to hear it. Deming Square. After the last congestion incident, the square was expanded countless times, and it was endless, with more than 10 kilometers in front. At this time, it was already full of Ming soldiers. Even around more than 10 kilometers away, there were countless Ming people watching. On the high platform, there were microphones and broadcasts. When Nian'an came here, Zhuyi and a general wearing white dragon armor walked up slowly. 150,000 dragon guards and 100,000 elite soldiers. 300,000 great snow dragon cavalry are in place. After the war, the personnel of the dragon guards and the great snow dragon cavalry were the first to be supplemented. In front of the 2 empires, there were more than 500,000 troops. The pupils of the Xingluo Empire envoy shrank fiercely. 500,000. How is this possible? According to the information they got secretly, the Ming dynasty had a total of 250,000 troops stationed in the kingdom of Nian'an. The troops they had on the surface were close to 800,000. Is this still a kingdom? You can start now. Zhu Nian'an had no expression on his face. The Ming, Emperor Ming was cruel and murderous. This was the act of a tyrant. Now the Xingluo Empire is obeying the will of heaven to eliminate the tyrannical Ming. After the Xingluo Envoy finished reading the letter of war, the envoy whose ear was cut off by Zhu Nian'an inked the Tianxing Empire envoy group smiled. He looked at the people in the Ming dynasty and winked. Tyrant. Have you ever thought about how many families you have caused to be broken up? An angry young man suddenly jumped out from the crowd of the Ming dynasty. In the 300 years of the Warring States period, the number of people who died in wars was less than the 3 months you were in office. Don't you feel guilty? Zhu Nian'an frowned and clenched his fists tightly. To be honest, Zhu Nian'an would not care if he was accused by the Empire or called a tyrant by anyone on the mainland. At most, he would get angry. But, the people he protected were pointed at and scolded by his own people, and he couldn't hold it anymore. He was a little broken. The commander of the Jin'e saw Zhu Nian'an's clenched fists and the baby fat on his face. Where did this unruly citizen come from? Catch him. In an instant, the man who angrily scolded Zhu Nian'an was pressed to the ground. Why do you feel guilty? Don't we even have the right to express freedom of speech? As he said this, the young man glanced at the people who were staring at him with angry eyes. A superior smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. It's really sad. Living in the empire he leads, I can't feel a bit of happiness. I only feel deep shame. Not only did he invade other kingdoms, he also massacred other people's citizens. He is the most damnable person in the history of the Warring States period. The Jin'e leader frowned. Take him away. After hearing the words of the Jin'e leader, the young man raised a smile. Why are you afraid? Are you afraid that I will continue to say that you are? Before he could continue, Zhu Nian'an's slightly anxious voice sounded. Wait. The word tyrant was deliberately given to me by the defeated country. Everyone in the world and the whole continent can scold me like this, but you can't. Because you're the people of my Ming dynasty, and it was me who single-handedly rescued you from the crisis. At this point, Zhu Nian'an became more and more angry. Now that the Ming dynasty is strong, you have begun to care for the weak, but don't forget where this strength, your capital to care for the weak, comes from. It was me, and I who conquered it step by step. Without me, the kingdom would have been destroyed months ago. And you are all slaves of a conquered country. Your parents will have to do hard labor, you'll have endless work to do, your wives will be played with by others, and your children will be forced to be slaves. The scene was silent. Zhu Nian'an looked at the young man coldly. Do you think you have awakened and understand the world? I think you are crazy. Don't you dislike the Ming dynasty? Okay, I will give you the freedom you want. I declare that this person's nationality will be revoked, he will be expelled from the Ming dynasty, and he will never be employed again. Zhu Nian'an gave a look, and the man was quickly carried away by the Jin'e. As for the violent Ming, Zhu Nian'an turned his head and looked at the envoys of the two empires. Which emperor of your country dares to say that he is an upright and wise king? If I die, people like you will drag the Ming dynasty into endless disputes like jackals and tigers. And what I want to bring to the Ming dynasty is a vast country with mountains and rivers stretching for thousands of miles, and peace for all ages. At this point, Zhu Nian'an waved his hand. It is me who made the four directions submit and the Ming dynasty expand. It is me who made the people of the Ming dynasty have food in the morning and food in the evening. It is me who created the real Ming dynasty. Zhu Nian'an took a deep breath. Those people have never stood in my high position, how can they understand the scenery in my eyes, how dare they judge my achievements? Chapter 29 Peacemaker. Chapter 29 Peacemaker. In the sky of Ming Square, a little bit of golden gas slowly gathered. Not long after, a piece of golden dragon scale, a sharp dragon claw, a mighty beard, a domineering dragon horn, and a huge dragon body slowly condensed. 2 emperors and 8 kings, how do you compare to me? Bang. Yin. The next moment, a beam of light shot directly at Zhu Nian'an and inked the center of the square. Crack. With a crisp cracking sound, it was as if a level was opened in Zhu Nian'an's body. The soul power in his body surged wildly. Level 20. Swish swish swish. After hearing Zhu Nian'an's words, the Ming army and the entire square moved. The bright sun and moon were blown by the strong wind and made a sound. The next moment, a deafening response sounded. The talents of the 2 emperors are greater than those of the 8 emperors. The talents of the 2 emperors are greater than those of the 8 emperors. The talents of the two emperors are greater than those of the 8 emperors. The deafening response lasted for a long time. As long as Nian'an needed a response, the roar of the Ming army was the best response. Here, the two emperors mentioned by Nian'an were Daoshen, the emperor of the Xingluo Empire, and Zhu Yi, the emperor of the Tiando Empire. At the beginning of the Warring States period, the two empires secretly accumulated strength. After several generations of efforts, they began to plunder and occupy. It must be said that Daoshen and Zhu Yi were heroes, which made the territory of the Tiando Empire and the Xingluo Empire unprecedentedly expanded. However, these are the results of countless generations of empires accumulating strength. And what about Nian'an? At the beginning, there was a group of eunuchs, and they almost failed to ascend the throne. There was no system novice gift package. There were many rebellions and enemy politics. Less than 200,000 elite soldiers were at the gates of the city within one day of his ascension to the throne, and there were also traitors. Nian'an once stretched the territory of the entire Ming Empire to nearly 1,000 miles. From north to south, it is like a straight line, piercing the heart of Xingluo. Gong, what the hell is this? Is this a dragon-souled beast? Why doesn't this dragon-souled beast hurt him? Could this be the true Dragon Emperor? He can say such words, and he can turn a small kingdom on the verge of extinction into an empire and stop the invasion of Tiando. I have to say that this emperor, who looks very young but is very powerful, is a rare hero on the continent. The envoys of the two empires stared straight at him, their eyes full of fear. Especially the envoys of the Tiando Empire, who were frantically warning in their hearts. Ding, congratulations to the host for completing the main task, the first battle of the Empire, and the reward for killing 500,000 enemies, reward 500,000 year soul ring, adaptive, 50 soul holy soul mentor core, and the country's most important weapon, the 9th level soul guide little girl. Peacemaker, as the system prompt suddenly sounded in his mind, Nian'an's eyes lit up. 50 soul holy soul mentor core. It's easy to understand, it's a soul guide army composed of 50 soul saints. But this little girl with the 9th level soul guide weapon of the country. Homeland was invaded, hometown was destroyed, father and brother died in battle, tears of grief shed, and the fire of hope was ignited. Peacemaker. Damage ranges a city, with curse damage. Peacemaker? You call this a peacemaker? This is not a nuclear peacemaker, right? Even in Nian'an's previous life, this is definitely a top-level lethal weapon. Such a weapon fell into the hands of a madman. This is simply too cool. Ding, trigger the main task. The Emperor lets the army in person, defends the territory, defeats the invaders, and spreads his reputation throughout the continent. Finally, it has come to this step. Swish. Nian'an slowly raised his head, and a flash of determination flashed in his eyes. After hurting the Tiando Empire once, they definitely don't have many troops to stop him now. So, this time it's the turn of the Xingluo Empire. 800,000, this number is not small, but most of them are definitely just for show. For example, militia, civilians who pick up swords and guns and stand on the front line are also considered soldiers, but the combat power of such soldiers is negligible. In fact, at this time, it is a person's duty to protect the country and fight. The Empire has money to pay, and some people don't even have money, even weapons and armor are self-provided. I solemnly declare today. Declare war on the Tiando Empire. Declare war on the Xingluo Empire. Declare war on the Tianxing Kingdom, star. Declare war on the Killer Crew's Kingdom, star. Nian'an directly named 5 or 6 countries in one breath and declared war on them directly. Most of them are affiliated forces of the Xingluo Empire. Even if we don't declare war now, we will have to fight in the future, so we might as well fight them all at once. If you ask, where does Nian'an get the confidence? You know, now he is fighting 2 empires alone. If you ask, it is given by the peacemaker. When you can't win, one will go down, I believe the whole world will be quiet, and countless people will be afraid. Because no one knew whether Nian'an would have a second one, and no one dared to test it. Moreover, against the Xingluo Empire, Nian'an would not necessarily lose without using the peacemaker. Nian'an's voice was deafening, and it echoed in the Deming Square for a long time, causing the envoys of the 2 empires to tremble. How dare he? How dare he? Crazy, he is a madman. Nian'an ignored them and turned away directly. Get ready, this time, I will personally lead the expedition. Plop. Your Majesty, no. In the Nian'an Palace, everyone knelt down instantly after hearing the news. Zhu Nian'an looked at Zhu Yi, who was in the lead. Give me a reason. After hearing Zhu Nian'an's words, Zhu Yi did not hesitate at all. The front line is too dangerous, and the Ming dynasty still needs your majesty's leadership. Your majesty must not have any accidents. The empire guards the country's gates, and a gentleman does not stand under a dangerous wall, your majesty. I am willing to go to this battle in Xiaoyao. Zhu Nian'an waved his hand. I have more important things for you to do. I'll give you 100,000 dragon guards to guard the northern border of Ming for a month. Zhu Yi's face first showed worry and reluctance, and finally compromised with the emperor's order. I'm here. Guard the northern border of Ming for a month. If the border is breached or invaded within a month, you'll be a simmer of Ming. As long as he breaks it within a month and 32 days, you'll be a meritorious official of Ming. When I return, I will reward you. Night. In the Ming Palace. A blood-red beam of light shot straight into the sky, instantly dyeing half of the sky of Minqing red. Yin. 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 In front of Zhu Nian'an, a dragon-patterned longsword kept spinning, and a blood-red soul ring on his body slowly fell. Looking closely, this blood-red soul ring has 3 life patterns on it. Swoosh, 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 Grand Priest. Several figures appeared in the darkness and approached the palace at a high speed. Just when they wanted to enter the Ming Palace to check what was going on, a tall figure stood in front of him. Your Majesty is practicing, get out. Douluo Calendar, 2625, early July. On the day when the Douluo Empire announced the war with the Ming dynasty, it sent troops to attack the Binlan territory. At the signal of Zhu Nian'an before his arrival, the Binlan garrison gave up some territory. Seeing the initial effect, the Douluo Empire began to become greedy. 800,000 troops were divided into 2 groups to attack Xiaoyao city. The attempt was to directly cut off the Ming dynasty's contact and supply from Xiaoyao city next to Xiaoyao province, and directly recapture all the territories in the south to win. Unfortunately, Xiaoyao city was built for a long time by Zhu Yi and his people under the order of Zhu Nian'an. The city was strong, and the people of Xiaoyao city fought desperately. The Douluo Empire could not conquer it for a long time and did not achieve much results. July 3rd. Zhu Nian'an brought 300,000 great snow dragon riders, 100,000 elite soldiers, 50,000 dragon guards, Holy Spirit Church, and Soul Master Corps to join the battlefield. Immediately, with the force of thunder, he recaptured all the territory in Binlan and attacked Xiaoyao province. Xiaoyao's 800,000 troops returned to defend. In addition, they established the Tiger Raw defense line in the Tiger Raw forest not far from Xiaoyao city. You don't want to fight, you can retreat when you say so. On the other side of the Tiger Raw defense line, 50 rounds of fixed-type soul guide cannons were ready. Sorry, times have changed. Fire. Chapter 30 The Holy Spirit Church's Saint, Fire Phoenix. Chapter 30 Holy Spirit Church Saintess, Fire Phoenix. Tiger Raw Forest, Tiger Raw Line. In the silent night sky, dense sparks suddenly appeared and fell from the sky. Bang. Boom. The earth was shaking, as if the gods were wailing, and the sky was spinning. Behind that Tiger Raw line, in the soldiers' tents, the Douluo soldiers who had resisted the Ming army's charge for a day in the Tiger Raw line had already fallen asleep. Faced with the sudden disaster, there was no power to resist at all. Be on guard. Enemy attack. Enemy attack. After the first round of artillery fire, countless people were buried in their sleep. The barracks was a sea of fire. Swish. A strong man in black armor suddenly opened the main barracks and looked at the soldiers' side camp, which had already turned into a sea of fire. How is this possible? Damn it, what's going on? Just as he was still confused, the starry city opposite the Tiger Raw line. Zhu Nian'an's eyes slowly reflected a piece of fire, and the first round was over. He raised his head expressionlessly and raised his hand. Second round, ready. After hearing Zhu Nian'an's words, the 50 level 7 soul masters activated the level 7 fixed soul guide cannon again without hesitation, preparing to start a new round of bombing. Fire. Bang. Bang. With a roar, countless artillery fire was fired again. I want to show you what is the technological crushing that comes from 10,000 years in advance. This is the strength of the Ming dynasty. On the left side of the Tiger Raw line, 100,000 dragon guards were ready. On the right side of the Tiger Raw line, the swords of 300,000 great snow dragon riders were already thirsty. They received Zhu Nian'an's order and attacked the Douluo army guarding the Tiger Raw line from both sides. They only waited for 3 rounds of artillery fire as a signal, and after firing, they could rush straight to the tiger line. Bang! Ah! My hand! Save me, I don't want to. The shrill screams echoed in the dark night, and the night was slowly lit up by the fire, and the scene suddenly reflected a hell on earth. No one sympathized with them because they were too busy to take care of themselves. The 3rd round followed. Boom! Trample tread. The earth was shaking. After the artillery fire, the Xingluo army had long lost any order and was in a mess. At this moment, the sound of iron cavalry trampling on the ground suddenly came from the north. In the main camp far away from the border camp, a middle-aged man's face changed wildly. This is iron cavalry, it's Ming. Oh no, damn it, it's not good. Bang! The sky roared again, and the flares instantly lit up the entire battlefield. On the left, golden armor, and on the right, silver armor cavalry raised high. Counterattack, counterattack. Counterattack for me. Xingluo General Zhuge screamed loudly. He didn't know what was going on. He only knew that he woke up. The whole camp was bombarded, and just after the bombardment, the main cavalry stepped on his face. He did it without saying a word, and didn't notice that the Xingluo army behind him had already been in chaos. There was no power to resist. The great snow dragon cavalry began to harvest, just like cutting wheat, charging in rounds. Puff! Bang! The sound of sharp blades piercing flesh resounded, hot blood sprayed, and panicked figures fell. 1 hour. 2 hours. Near the 3rd hour, under the command of the commander of Xingluo, the soldiers finally gathered again. Unfortunately, at this time, even if the commander regained control of the army, it would be useless. Because the casualties were too great, and they were about to be defeated and withdraw from the battlefield. General Zhuge, let's retreat. The casualties are too heavy. Now the soldiers are exhausted physically and mentally. If we continue to fight like this, our losses may reach an unprecedented 90%. After hearing his subordinates observing the battlefield and the words of the scouts who delivered the message, Zhuge's eyebrows twitched. Lost. The tiger line at Defensa did not even hold for 3 days. On the 2nd night, it was directly attacked, and the casualties accounted for 70% this time. You know, there are 300,000 people guarding the tiger line at Defensa. Now it's gone, everything is gone. Zhuge's eyes flashed with anger, helplessness, and finally fear. This kind of offensive dominance is definitely something that a kingdom that has just become an empire can have. Retreat. Retrieve to Tsunlade and join the main force overnight. Until the sky was bright, the main army finally took down the tiger line at Defensa, and Xingluo withdrew its troops. Nian'an took over 1/3 of the territory of Xingluo province. Slow, too slow. Looking at the news delivered by the recorder in his hand, Nian'an frowned deeply. With the Soul Master Corps, it took several hours to take down a defense line spanning more than 10 kilometers. If there is no Soul Master Corps, it will take several days, or even 10 days or half a month. No, this won't work. You know, Nian'an's Ming Empire is now 1 against 2, and the last thing he can do is to drag it out. He must use the Ming Empire's best blitzkrieg, first destroy one, and then move on to the other. However, in the next few days, Nian'an was a little troubled again. First, Nian'an wanted to continue to attack Xingluo province, defeat the last line of defense in Xingluo province, and go straight to Xingluo city, the capital of Xingluo Empire, Congress. Second, there is another provincial capital under the Nian'an Kingdom, the Tianxing province of the Xingluo Empire. That is the province that was sent to aid the Nian'an Kingdom and was severely damaged by Nian'an. After the last incident, it is estimated that there will not be many soldiers in this provincial capital. But Nian'an is still a little afraid that he will not be able to attack Xingluo city for a long time and be dragged down by the Xingluo Empire. When the time comes, the Tian'an Empire will send troops, and the Xingluo Empire will disperse its forces to Tianxing province, pooling the battle to a third party. Once the battle line is stretched, there is only one result for Nian'an. The territory that was conquered with great difficulty will be lost, and it will retreat quickly. It seems that it is time to use that thing. Nian'an of Xingluo city wants to continue the attack, and Nian'an of Tianxing province also wants to fight. Adults make choices, and Nian'an's choice is to fight all. There is no need to occupy the entire Tianxing province, because this is a complete waste of manpower. It is only necessary to destroy the local provincial capital, or support a new kingdom. System, use the 10,000 worlds character summoning card. As the voice just fell, the picture in front of Nian'an slowly dimmed. A roulette wheel began to turn slowly. The next second, a cold system prompt sound began to slowly ring. Ding, the 10,000 worlds character summoning has begun. Summoning. Congratulations to the host for summoning the Holy Maiden of the Tianxing Sect, Holy Spirit Sect. Cry. The harsh sound of birds chirping sounded. A woman with black flames all over her body and a firebird floating behind her slowly appeared. She had long fiery red hair and a beautiful face. She slowly opened her eyes, and the next second, a pair of blood-red eyes appeared that seemed to drip blood. Holy Maiden of the Holy Spirit Church, Fire Phoenix greets His Majesty. Yellow, purple, blab, 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 red, 2 yellow, 2 purple, 4 blab, and 1 red, 9 soul rings shone, and she was given a title Douluo. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novel, as there you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 31 NATO. Chapter 31 Xiaoyao. Hoho. The blazing waves of fire were slowly stirring. The moment this woman appeared, a figure appeared silently beside Nian'an. Peerless Tang Sect Saint. In the Peerless Tang Sect, there are only a few saints, none more than Ma Xiaoyao and Tang Yi. Isn't Ma Xiaoyao the only one who can match the flame and phoenix spirit? The funny thing is that the other party seems to be the descendant of Ma Hongjin. According to the setting, the current Ma Xiaoyao seems to have forgotten that she is Ma Xiaoyao, and only knows that she is the saint of the Holy Spirit Church. Old Long is fine. Looking at Long Xiaoyao who appeared beside him, Nian'an smiled. After hearing Nian'an's words, Long Xiaoyao looked at the other party deeply, and then disappeared in an instant. I heard that your flame is very strong. Ma Xiaoyao did not reply, but nodded silently. Seeing this, Nian'an smiled. Help me a favor. As soon as the voice fell, the storage ring on Nian'an's right hand flashed. If you ask how this storage ring came from, the answer is that I have a 9th level soul guide and 57th level soul guides. Is it difficult to make a storage soul guide? After a flash of light, a red crystal jade box appeared in Nian'an's hand. The moment the red crystal jade box appeared, Ma Xiaoyao frowned, suddenly stepped forward, and slowly caught it with both hands. Your Majesty, danger. Click. The jade box slowly opened, and the next moment, a very strong flame surged out. In the yin-yang of ice and fire, many immortal grasses, without roots and soil that provide nutrients, will quickly disappear and evaporate. In this regard, Nian'an just wanted to say, why don't you pull it up with roots and take some soil? Help me refine it. After saying that, Nian'an immediately sat cross-legged on the ground, and the next moment, a very strong soul power instantly lifted up the immortal grass. Pulled it in front of him. The powerful flame element suddenly erupted. Be careful. Ma Xiaoyao was shocked when she saw this scene. The energy on this grass is not simple. If you are not a fire spirit master, you may be seriously injured or even swallowed by its powerful medicinal power. But before Ma Xiaoyao could make any move, a big sun slowly appeared behind Nian'an inch the next second. Don't hesitate, hurry up. Nian'an glanced at Ma Xiaoyao, and then bit down on the fiery apricot. But the manic energy suddenly burst out, and a beam of light shot straight into the sky. Feeling the manic energy in his body, Nian'an's face turned red. This feeling, damn, how long has it been since I felt it? Nian'an instantly felt hot all over, dry mouth, and itchy all over. Just when Nian'an was sitting uncomfortably and itching unbearably, a pair of soft and boneless little hands touched him. The next moment, the strange feeling in his body was slowly suppressed. Nian'an only felt that he was embraced by a warm body. Bang! Bang! Explosions came slowly from within the body, and Nian'an's soul power surged. It soon reached level 30. Last time, the 300,000-year soul ring raised Nian'an's soul power to level 28. This is why Nian'an's soul power can quickly break through level 30. System, extract the 500,000-year soul ring. But the next moment, in the Imperial camp of Xiaoyao City, a blood-red beam of light shot straight into the sky, dyeing half of the sky of Xiaoyao City red. A huge blood-red soul ring slowly appeared and was put on Nian'an and Ma Xiaoyao. 5 life patterns flashed on this blood-red soul ring. Xiaoyao Empire. It was just dawn. But at this time, the Xingluo Empire had already started the court meeting. Your Majesty, all our people in the entire Binlan territory have been forced to withdraw. I suggest that 800,000 troops be divided into two routes and push Binlan from Tianxing province. By then, we can not only avoid a clash with the main army of the Ming dynasty, but when Tianzhou sends troops, the Ming dynasty will face the pressure of fighting on three fronts. Fighting on three fronts, the front line is stretched so far, if it is not handled properly, the newly born Ming Empire will be completely defeated. It must be said that this is a very good battle plan, the main line is delayed, and the secondary line is crossed. As long as the early operation is good, the Ming Empire will be defeated over time. On the throne. The face of the Xingluo Empire Emperor Daoshen was uncertain. Facing an empire that has just been established by a kingdom, it is necessary to use the split-push tactic. What does this mean? Is my huge Xingluo Empire not as good as the Ming dynasty that rose from a small country? Crash. Suddenly, a large number of people knelt down at the scene. Your Majesty, I did this only to avoid the loss of most of Xingluo. Before the minister finished speaking, Daoshen looked over with a cold gaze. Shut up. No matter what, the combined forces are 800,000 to 700,000. The advantage is in my Xingluo Empire. How can my great Xingluo Empire be afraid of a small Ming dynasty that has just been established for less than a month? Tap 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 tap. At this moment, a series of hurried footsteps rang out instantly. Bailey urgent. Bailey urgent. Your Majesty, the Tiger Raw defense line has received a direct battle report. Hearing this, the scene instantly became quiet. Daoshen's eyes condensed slightly. Bring it up. After hearing Daoshen's words, the messenger shook his head with a sad face. The situation is urgent, and there is no writing. It is the oral order of General Vuk. Daoshen frowned. Speak. Your Majesty, the Tiger Raw defense line barracks were attacked by strange weapons from the Ming Empire last night, and a large number of soldiers were blown to ashes in their sleep. After 3 rounds, the soldiers suffered heavy losses. The Ming Drachma army and hundreds of thousands of cavalry raided. Although the army quickly gathered again under my command, the defeat was already unstoppable. The Tiger Raw defense line has been lost, and the casualties are close to 200,000. Hearing this news, Daoshen's face turned pale. 200,000, in an instant, the advantage of the combined battle force disappeared. Strange weapons, could it be that they used them when attacking the Wolf Kingdom? Damn it. Your Majesty, I think the capital should be moved. Yes, the Great God Lake defense line is only more than 100 kilometers away from Xingluo City. When they reach the Great God Lake defense line, it will be too late. We will have to live under the eyes of others. Listening to the voices coming from all around, Daoshen was upset. Move the capital? What a joke. If the capital is really moved, it will be a shame that the Xingluo Empire will never be able to erase. The two countries have been at war for less than a week, and it has become a war to defend the capital. Are you kidding? Shut up. I will never move the capital. We still have the Great God Lake defense line, we still have so many kingdoms, and we still have our ally, the Tianzhou Empire. Yes, immediately send a message to Tianzhou, and let them send troops to stop the Ming dynasty. When this news reached the Tianzhou Empire, it was already a few days later. The 500,000 troops of the Tianzhou Empire have already been lost, and the remaining part of the army to protect the capital cannot be moved at all. There is no way. Tianzhou, who doesn't want to contribute and is afraid that the Xingluo Empire will withdraw its troops and stop playing, can only put pressure on his younger brothers, the remaining kingdoms, and ask them to send troops. Unfortunately, it was immediately opposed. The leader was still the Hargunda's kingdom. When the letter was delivered to Emperor Zhu Yi was furious. Only to see the 2 words NATO written quietly on the cover. After receiving Zhu Nian'an's plan, Hargunda's contacted several neighboring kingdoms without stopping, and hinted to the Ming dynasty in both open and covert ways, taking the opportunity to get rid of Tianzhou's control. In particular, according to Hargunda's, after the Ming dynasty killed 500,000 Tianzhou troops, the Tianzhou Empire was now unable to take care of itself, and several kingdoms felt that it was getting more and more difficult and more promising. After watching Zhu Nian'an declare war on the 2 empires and several kingdoms affiliated with the Xingluo Empire, he immediately announced the establishment of the United Nations. Chapter 32 Tianxing Independence. Chapter 32 Tianxing Independence. in the main hall of the Tianzhou Empire. Assholes, they rebelled, a bunch of traitors. Western Alliance, what does this mean? Do they want to disobey me, disobey Tianzhou's orders? The Tianzhou Empire's hero, Emperor Zhu Yi, was furious. He really didn't expect that the younger kingdoms that used to be extremely respectful to the Tianzhou Empire would immediately turn against it after the Tianzhou Empire was defeated. The Tianzhou Empire had just been defeated at the border of the Ming Empire, and lost 500,000 Tianzhou troops. This was a great bad news. This news could not be concealed, and this was also the reason why those kingdoms were ready to join Western Alliance. Tianzhou suffered a heavy blow, and now it is estimated that the number of troops it has is not as much as that of the combined forces of the several kingdoms. What's more, there is also the existence of the behemoth of the Ming Empire. Even if Tianzhou has to unite with Xingluo to fight against it. After various analyses, the kings finally came to a conclusion. That is, even if they formed Western Alliance and the United Nations, the Tianzhou Empire would not have time to deal with them for a while. The main force of the Tianzhou Empire is still to be placed on the border battlefield of Ming. As for whether it will become the second Ming after Ming is dealt with, the benefits of the United Nations are revealed at this time. If a single kingdom is wavering, it can't influence the pattern of Douluo continent. But what about 3, 4, 5, 7 or 8? When they unite, they are no less threatening than an empire. As long as the United Nations is threatened, the United Nations can choose to directly compromise with another empire and help that empire rule the continent. The three-party constraint, the triangle has stability. Bang! Emperor Zhu Yi became more and more angry as he thought about it. At the end of his thought, he slapped the table heavily. I can't deal with Ming for a while, but can't I deal with a few kingdoms? Thinking of this, a hint of murderous intent flashed in Emperor Zhu Yi's eyes. They must not be allowed to have an easy time. Your Majesty, you must not do that. Now the Tianzhou Empire is joining forces with Xingluo to fight against the Ming dynasty. Our main forces should be placed on the battlefield with the Ming dynasty in the future. Instead of starting a new war, what's more, with the current elite troops of Tianzhou, it is difficult to support a two-front war. Hearing this, Emperor Zhu Yi was silent. Indeed, with the current elite troops of the Tianzhou Empire, it is not enough to support a two-front war. Helplessly, Emperor Zhu Yi could only suppress his anger. Send a message to the Barak Kingdom, Prince Zubak, to mobilize the domestic army and the Tianzhou army to form an army of 500,000 to attack the Ming dynasty. The relationship between the king of the Barak Kingdom and the Tianzhou Empire is somewhat special. Due to its special geographical location, there are nearly 300,000 heavy troops in the country, and the prince is the king. Now, the Xingluo Empire requires the Tianzhou Empire to send troops to contain the Ming dynasty. The main forces of the Ming dynasty are placed in the Xingluo battlefield in the south. At this time, the Tianzhou Empire certainly cannot let down the chain. Even if it is borrowing troops, it has to bite the bullet. Of course, a little bit of fun happened during this period. The army of the Kingdom of Barak wanted to cross the Kingdom of Silvers and enter the territory of the Tianzhou Empire to join the Tianzhou army. If it was in the past, there would be no problem. After all, everyone belonged to the Tianzhou camp. But sorry, it is not possible now, because the Kingdom of Silvers has now been moved by the Kingdom of Days and has become a member of the Western Alliance. As a result, the army of the Kingdom of Barak was directly expelled in a very embarrassing way, and it took a long detour to enter the territory of the Tianzhou Empire. In secret, Days is no longer limited to wooing the kingdoms of the Tianzhou Empire. One night, it secretly contacted the king of the Kingdom of Hadrian. After 2.5 hours of negotiations, the other party chose to wait and see. The reason for wanting to wait and see is that they want to see the battle between Xingluo and Ming. The main forces of the Xingluo Empire and Ming did not gain any benefits from that confrontation, but lost a line of defense in the first large-scale battle. This is also the reason why the other party is considering joining the Western Alliance. You know, Nian'an declared war on the two empires and the kingdoms of the entire Xingluo Empire. If the Xingluo Empire loses, I will choose to join the NATO and the United Nations independently. I believe I can get rid of the influence of the Xingluo Empire's defeat. The reason why I have to wait is that the Xingluo Empire is not fighting the Ming dynasty alone. It also has an imperial ally, the Tianzhou Empire. It can only be said that no one is a fool. A fool king will not live long in the warring state period. Xingluo City, Imperial Camp. Bang. Level 31. Level 33. Level 36. With the help of Ma Xiaotao, Nian'an successfully refined the fiery apricot, and his soul power broke through to level 30. Without any hesitation, he decisively chose to absorb the third soul ring. Suddenly, the soul power in his body surged, and in almost the blink of an eye, he crossed the 7th or 8th level and reached the peak of level 39. Nian'an slowly opened his eyes, and the third soul ring on his body flashed, and suddenly waves of sword intent raged. 40 Dragon King swords appeared around Nian'an, and a shadow slowly condensed behind that Dragon King sword. Collect. Nian'an waved his hand, and countless shadows around him returned to his body. Your Majesty. Nian'an slowly turned his head and immediately looked into Ma Xiaotao's bright red eyes. Retracting his gaze, Nian'an patted the non-existent dust on his body. I want you to lead the people of the Holy Spirit Church to sneak into Tianxing province, eliminate the high-ranking officials of Tianxing, and as the daughter of a high-ranking official of Tianxing, you will be independent from the Tiando Empire and establish the Tianxing Kingdom. After hearing Nian'an's words, Ma Xiaotao slowly stood up. Yes, Your Majesty. On July 7, the Holy Spirit Church sneaked into Tianxing province. 3 days later, all the high-ranking officials in Tianxing province died tragically, and a seriously injured and dying girl was found in the family of a high-ranking official of Tianxing. She was the eldest daughter of a high-ranking official in Tianxing. Her entire family was slaughtered, leaving only one daughter. With the assistance of a senior spirit master in Tianxing province, she legitimately took over the army and became the new administrator of Tianxing province. And she suppressed all opposition with thundering means. Under the leadership of the Xingluo Empire, 200,000 corpses of our Tianxing sons and daughters are still buried in a foreign country. Because of the selfish desires of some people, how many of us have lost their families? I, Tianxing, declare that I will secede from the Xingluo Empire, become independent, and establish the Tianxing Kingdom. I will not participate in any war, and I will not be ordered by anyone. On July 12, with the assistance of the Holy Spirit Church, Ma Xiaotao took control of the military power of Tianxing province. After she secured her position, she decisively announced her independence from the Xingluo Empire and established the Tianxing Kingdom. Because Ma Xiaotao stood on the side of many people, she not only did not encounter opposition, but also gained strong support from the people. You know, the 200,000 troops that Tianxing province supported before all died in the Binlan Kingdom. The people have long been resentful, and it was the request of the Xingluo Empire. Now the Xingluo Empire has also received news of defeat. Why continue to follow that Xingluo Empire? Let your children and your husband continue to die on the battlefield. It is better to refuse to participate in the war, Eastern Standard Time establish an independent kingdom, and no longer obey Xingluo's dispatch. After learning about the establishment of the Tianxing Kingdom, the Ming Empire immediately issued a statement. There is no grudge between the Ming Dynasty and the Tianxing Kingdom. The Ming Dynasty only wants to protect the people of the Ming Dynasty and protect the interests of the Ming Dynasty from being infringed. As long as the Tianxing Kingdom does not harm the interests of the Ming Dynasty, the Ming Dynasty will not send troops, let alone take the initiative to provoke a war. The Ming Dynasty loves peace and hopes for peace. P.S. I will speed up the plot. Of course I will not always write about war, and I will also develop side plots in the future. Chapter 33 Nuclear War, Xingluo is defeated. Chapter 33 Nuclear Peace, Xingluo defeated. As soon as the statement was issued, it immediately received a strong response. The most direct manifestation was that the Ming army stationed in Tianxing Kingdom withdrew. On July 15, Ma Xiaotao, dressed as the Fire Phoenix Empress, signed a peace treaty with Nian'an's Ming Empire, and the whole country was boiling. In Tianxing Kingdom, Ma Xiaotao's supporters reached an unprecedented explosive growth. You know, the Xingluo Empire and the Ming Empire are fighting. In fact, the most feared are not the people of the two empires. How to say it? Because the people of the two empires are in the empire, behind that battlefield, it will take some time to fight over. The most feared is the edge of the battlefield, or even a place with an important geographical location. After all, if it is not done well, the place where I slept yesterday may become the center of the battlefield and be affected by the war. It is normal to have casualties. Now it's good. Tianxing Kingdom and the Ming Empire have signed a peace treaty. As long as I am no longer involved with the Xingluo Empire, the battlefield will no longer have anything to do with me. My kingdom will no longer die because of the war. For the people of Tianxing who are looking forward to peace, how long have they waited? Damn it, damn it. How dare they, Tianxing province, be independent? How dare they sign a peace treaty with the Ming dynasty? This is simply betrayal. In the palace of the Xingluo Empire, Emperor Daoshan was furious. In fact, during these few days, he did take measures, such as launching local conflicts with the Ming dynasty and putting pressure on the Tianxing Kingdom. Unfortunately, it was all useless. The most important thing was that they lost the Tiger line of defense and lost the opportunity to cover most of the territory of the Tianxing Kingdom. If the Tiger line of defense was still there, the Tianxing Kingdom dared to be independent, and the Xingluo Empire would reissue the Xingluo ID card to the Tianxing Kingdom in the afternoon. Unfortunately, it was too late. Everything was too late. Of course, if the Xingluo Empire wanted to fight the Tianxing Kingdom, it was not completely helpless. There was still a way. That was to send troops from other provinces. Unfortunately, if the troops were transferred from the Great God Lake, the Ming army would be able to attack in the next second, and the line of defense would be lost again, and then Xingluo City would be in crisis. Your Majesty, don't be angry. It's the Ming dynasty that should be anxious now. As long as I, Xingluo, guard the defense line of the Great God Lake and tie down the main force of the Ming dynasty here. According to the strength of both sides, the Tianzhou Empire on the other side will gather 500,000 troops and should be able to achieve results quickly. By then, the Ming dynasty will definitely be defeated. Indeed, on the surface, Nian'an brought 450,000 troops, plus 250,000 troops guarding Xingyu and Binlang, a total of 700,000. It is already shocking that an empire that has just been established can have so many troops. On the other hand, if the Tianzhou Empire goes to steal the house, how many troops can the Ming dynasty take out to defend? Report. Xingyu City. A guard wearing red armor and carrying a sword ran from a distance in an instant, walking briskly. Nian'an glanced at the other party. He was not very old. In modern times, he might not even be an adult. He was only about 16 or 17 years old. This is a new round of Imperial Guards. Report, Your Majesty, Hargun Days secretly reported. Hearing this, Nian'an narrowed his eyes. Bring it up. He opened the secret report, which only had a simple line of words. The Bara Kingdom and the Tianzhou army joined forces to gather 500,000 troops to attack the Ming dynasty. 500,000. I didn't expect that the Tianzhou Empire lost 500,000 troops on the border of the Ming dynasty, and there were still 500,000. It was really willing to do so. However, this number was indeed beyond Nian'an's expectations. If it were in normal times, Tianzhou would at most send out 200,000 troops. These 200,000 troops would face 100,000 Dragon Guards, and they were guarding the Dragon Guards. There was no doubt that the other party had no chance of breaking through the border of the Ming dynasty. Even if it was 300,000, forget it. Unfortunately, the number of people coming this time was 5 times that of the Dragon Guards. Nian'an narrowed his eyes. Perhaps he had found the wrong direction from the beginning. The Great Snow Dragon Riders and the Dragon Guards were his most loyal troops. They were not a little bit stronger than ordinary people. Why did he come to fight the Xingluo Empire with such an army? To be honest, if time was not too tight, Nian'an would not hesitate to let the people of the Holy Spirit Church awaken their martial souls for their army one by one. With the existence of the 5-clawed golden dragon, the divine beast of the empire, the people of the Ming Empire awakened their martial souls and possessed soul power. After awakening the martial soul and obtaining the soul ring, wouldn't it be easy to beat 10 people alone? The more Nian'an thought about it, the more he lost. However, with the national strength, territory, and financial resources of the Ming dynasty, it is not a burden to raise this million-strong army, but it is different for 1 million or tens of millions of soul masters. For example, it is a difficult problem to get all the first soul rings of these 1 million or tens of millions of soul masters. This is not a small number. There must be a way when the car reaches the mountain. Nian'an shook his head and threw away all the thoughts in his mind. Finally, he made a decision. He was not going to use the Dragon Guards and the Great Snow Dragon Riders to fight the Xingluo army head-on, because this would completely consume his own combat power. It's time to end this battle. At this time tomorrow, many people may die, and Nian'an will become a sinner on the entire continent. But, Nian'an doesn't care. Because the number of people who died indirectly in his hands has already exceeded 1 million, and these hundreds of thousands are not a big deal. On the top of a distant mountain on the Tiger line, a huge launch pad was slowly installed. Let me ignite the fire of peace, nuclear peace, in Douluo continent. But the next moment, Nian'an slapped the launcher hard. In an instant, the sky of the earth roared, and a huge missile flew out quickly. The target was the Great God Lake line of defense, which had no less than 5 conflicts with the Min army in the past 10 days, but had been unable to be attacked for a long time. This is also the last line of defense of the Xingluo Empire, the strongest line of defense, with more than 500,000 troops stationed there. Unfortunately, with a roar, everything turned to ashes. Bang boom! A piercing roar resounded, and the next moment, in the endless darkness, a flame suddenly lit up. The next second, the flame grew bigger and bigger, growing against the wind, and the sparks instantly ignited the entire night sky, turning into the second sun in the darkness of Douluo continent. Buzz buzz buzz. This is the power of the country's most important weapon, the power of the little girl with a level 9 soul guide. Gulp. Nian'an swallowed his saliva. Although he was a modern person who traveled through time, even if he was a modern person, he had never seen a nuclear explosion. Now Nian'an's head was buzzing, and there was a buzzing sound. Swish! The loud noise woke up Douluo Dalu, who was sleeping in the Xingluo palace. Countless high-ranking officials of the Xingluo Empire trembled and stood up immediately. Then they were confused, because in their impression, they had just fallen asleep for a short time, and then the sky was bright. In Xiaoyao City, Nian'an opened his mouth and rubbed his ears to make his eardrums feel a little better. It's over. I believe that everyone on the Great God Lake defense line is familiar now. In that case, come here, pass on my order. Abandon the Great God Lake defense line. No one is allowed to go without my order. Go directly south from the Tiger Roar defense line to the Tiger Power Forest and head straight for Xingluo City. Nian'an's order was issued quickly. The first to take action were the 300,000 Great Snow Dragon Cavalry, because they were originally cavalry. Then came the Dragon Guards. Until a fish belly white appeared on the horizon, 300,000 white robes and silver armored soldiers arrived at the gate of Xingluo City. Xingluo Palace. Report, your majesty, it's not good. 300,000 elite soldiers of the Min dynasty traveled hundreds of miles overnight to kill at the gate of Xingluo City. We are surrounded. Swish. Douluo looked up instantly. The sudden situation last night made him go to bed very late. He was woken up after just sleeping for a while, and told him, such a thunderbolt news. What? My great star is dead. Chapter 34 Treaty of Versailles. Chapter 34. The Treaty of Versailles. Douluo, the Emperor of Xingluo Empire, opened his eyes wide, his eyes full of disbelief. He knew about the accidental explosion of the defense line at Nian'an late last night. He was not the only one who knew about this, almost everyone in Xingluo City saw it. Because the explosion was too loud, and the light that was emitted afterwards was too bright. He also sent people to investigate, but the matter was urgent, and the defense line at Nian'an Lake was also some distance away from Xingluo City. Douluo waited and waited, but in the end, he didn't wait for the people he sent to come back. So, he squinted for a while. It was just a short while, and you told him that Xingluo City was surrounded by the elite soldiers of the Ming Empire as soon as he opened his eyes. He couldn't figure it out, and he didn't understand. He didn't know how the Ming Empire broke through the defense line at Nian'an Lake, rushed hundreds of kilometers overnight to raid and successfully surrounded Xingluo City. Bang! Boom! Just as Douluo was still thinking, there was a roar from the north gate of Xingluo City. Then a group of people staggered over. It's bad, your majesty, the north gate has been breached, and the Min cavalry is here. Your majesty, let's move the capital with the remaining troops. As long as the Green Mountains remain, there will be no shortage of firewood. Your majesty, as long as you leave Xingluo City, you'll have a chance to make a comeback. The ministers spoke one after another, but Douluo remained frozen in place, without making any movement. Father. At this moment, a childish call rang out. Douluo raised his head suddenly and looked at the 3 people coming from behind him. Wes, Queen, Mubadai. The people who came were Davis, Queen Zhu, and Dai Mubadai, who had just learned to walk. In an instant, Douluo's heart softened. In fact, in the moment just now, he had already thought of many solutions in his heart. But in the end, all of them were rejected. The Xingluo Empire is one of the only 2 empires in the Douluo continent in the past 1,000 years. It is an old and powerful country. How many ancestors of the Dai family devoted their lives to reach this point? Now, all of it has been squandered by himself. He really has no face to move the capital. Even if he died here, he still had the face to see his ancestors. But he hesitated when he saw his eldest son Davis, Queen Zhu, and even his youngest son Daimu Bai, who had just learned to walk. Daoshan opened his dry lips. This is the Xingluo Palace. It is worthy at being an empire. It is much more luxurious than the Bianlan Kingdom. Unfortunately, before he could finally say those two words, dozens of figures suddenly flew over from the distant sky. They are all here. It seems that we don't need to catch them one by one. 12 soldiers and nearly 30 soul saints were dispatched by the Holy Spirit Church. In the blink of an eye, all the people in the palace were surrounded. It's over, the Xingluo Empire is over. But at this moment, outside the palace, a burst of bright starlight shone. Oh, I didn't expect that there are such powerful soul masters in the Xingluo Empire. The 12 deacons looked at each other, and then 6 of them flew out in an instant, flying towards the direction of the bright starlight. Stay where you are, maybe you can live a rich life below 1 person and above 10,000 people in the future. Don't resist fearlessly and disobey our orders, then we can't guarantee your safety. Click click. Daoshan clenched his fists tightly together. He only felt deeply humiliated. How dare they, how dare they, it's really a tiger in plain land being bullied by a dog. If it were the time when the Ocean Sect was still there, how dare they dare with just a few soldiers. Unfortunately, the past is the past, and the present is now. Now the Xingluo Empire, whether it is the military strength or the number of soul masters, cannot compare with the Ming Dynasty, which is in its heyday. Xingluo City. Nian'an drafted the Xingluo defeat treaty overnight. Yes, Nian'an was not prepared to destroy the Xingluo Empire in one go. What a joke! How big is the entire Xingluo Empire? Can a country with a population of several million grasp it? If you take too big a step, it is easy to pull your balls. Of course, if the people of the Ming Dynasty are less than the foreign population, it will be a precursor to the demise of the empire. Others can realize the country exchange plan at will. After a long time, Nian'an has not won at all, which is equivalent to conquering the world for others. Refer to a certain modern country that introduced black. This is absolutely unbearable for Nian'an, an absolute racist. Nian'an can't just massacre the city and kill everyone when he arrives at a city. Therefore, destroying the Xingluo Empire is not possible, at least now. The population base of the Ming Dynasty is too small. It was not until dawn that Nian'an received the news from Xingluo City and Xingluo City. Report, Your Majesty, we have successfully surrounded and captured Xingluo City and captured Xingluo Empire Daoshan alive. Looking at the treaty in his hand, Nian'an nodded with satisfaction. Prepare the carriage and go to Xingluo City immediately. Although Nian'an was not going to destroy the Xingluo Empire, he finally won the battle. The other side was a defeated country and had to pay some compensation. He used the treaty to restrict them for the next few decades, and then used these decades to develop the population. Will he rule this continent better in the future? The next afternoon, the luxurious carriage of the Ming Empire stopped outside Xingluo City. Nian'an deliberately changed into a set of armor and chose a dragon horse with sub-dragon blood. Standing on the tall horse, the Snow White was in sight. The great Snow Dragon cavalry had completely controlled Xingluo City. There were countless dragon guards wearing gold and dragon armor around Nian'an. Report, Occupy Xingluo City, our great Snow Dragon cavalry entered one household, and did not rob a grain. When Nian'an rode into Xingluo City, the great Snow Dragon cavalry commander immediately stepped forward to report. Hearing this, Nian'an nodded. Although he didn't care, he didn't want the Ming Dynasty to be shown as an invader in the eyes of countless people on the mainland. Although he didn't care, a defeated country should look like a defeated country. But Nian'an also knew that instead of robbing the money of these small people, it would be better to bleed the blood of the Xingluo royal family. Standing in front of the palace of the Xingluo Empire, Nian'an couldn't help but sigh. In the past 2,000 years, I am probably the only one who has fought here. Xingluo Empire Conference Room. Daoshan felt like pins and needles that day, but in the end, he still waited for the man. I can let you continue to be the emperor of the Xingluo Empire. Swish. As soon as Nian'an finished speaking, countless eyes looked over. Daoshan looked ecstatic. Originally, he thought that he would not survive, and the Xingluo Empire would be downgraded to a kingdom, and his eldest son would take over his position. In order to better control the Xingluo Empire. Now it seems that he does not need to die, and the empire does not need to be downgraded. But, as a defeated country, there are some conditions that you must sign. Nian'an directly took out the Treaty of Versailles. The main content is 3 points: territorial division, military restrictions, and war compensation. Chapter 35: The Xingluo Empire ceded territory and paid compensation. Chapter 35: The Xingluo Empire that ceded land and paid compensation. 1. Territorial division. The Xingluo Empire must unconditionally give up its overseas colonies, kingdoms, and recognize their independence. P.S. This refers to the recently established Tianxing Kingdom, which is currently the only one that is seeking independence. Of course, Nian'an will not return the territory conquered by Nian'an. Tiger Roar Defense Line. As for the Great God Circle Defense Line, it has long been razed to the ground, and there is nuclear pollution. There is no point in coming to that place. 2. Military restrictions. As a defeated country, the Xingluo Empire took the lead in stirring up trouble and declaring war. It was determined to have violated other countries. In order to restrict its behavior and prevent such problems from happening again in the future, directly put forward restrictions on its total military strength. The Xingluo Empire's military strength in the future shall not exceed 300,000. This is a force that is neither too many nor too few. 300,000 is far more than an ordinary kingdom, and it is not too powerful to be placed in the kingdom alone. You know, in the beginning, the Tianxing Kingdom, which was the predecessor of the Ming Empire, had a total force of 300,000. The appearance of the number of 300,000 immediately caused dissatisfaction from the Emperor of Xingluo. After a day of discussion, the 600,000 proposed by the other party was reduced to 55, and then to 50. In fact, Nian'an didn't care much about this aspect. Because, in the future battlefield, ordinary soldiers will become cannon fodder. The victory or defeat on the battlefield is not determined by the number of people. This is why Nian'an agreed to the other party. Not only that Nian'an is going to establish a Soul Mentor Academy, but also Nian'an is going to realize the plan of Universal Soul Masters. 3. War reparations. Nian'an cannot fight for the first two things, because he doesn't care, but Nian'an must fight for this third thing. Because, if the Ming Empire wants to develop rapidly, it must be supported by money. As a defeated country, Xingluo Empire, you must pay my Ming Empire 1 billion gold soul coins as war compensation. After hearing Nian'an's words, Xingluo Empire Daiyoshan stood up instantly. 1 billion? Your Majesty, are you crazy or am I crazy? Do you know how much 1 billion gold soul coins are? A pile of gold, a dozen silver mountains, or hundreds of copper mountains may not be able to exchange for it. Perhaps, many people have no idea about 1 billion gold soul coins. 10,000 years later, a Snow Empire embryo was mistakenly recognized as a 100,000-year soul beast embryo, and it could be auctioned for hundreds of millions. A top-grade soul bone can easily break tens of millions. But what Nian'an wanted to say was that this was the economic development 10,000 years later. During this period, through the continuous development of the economy and the development of gold mines, there were so many gold soul coins between the empires. Now it's not like 10,000 years later. The main productive force now is the labor force of ordinary workers. From the fact that Nian'an destroyed several countries before developing to 30 million gold soul coins, even countries cannot easily take out several 100 million gold soul coins. Xingluo Emperor, I hope you know your current status. Nian'an sat on the huge main seat, looking at Xingluo Emperor Daiyoshan with some disdain. You were a defeated country in Xingluo. In some places, our Ming dynasty is willing to make concessions. It is not because we are afraid of you, Xingluo, but because we believe that even if we give you more people, you will not threaten our Ming dynasty. After hearing Nian'an's slightly sarcastic words, Daiyoshan's face was gloomy. Nian'an didn't even look at Daiyoshan's face. What kind of person is he? What qualifications does he have to let me act according to his face? Originally, he shouldn't have agreed to the other parties. 500,000 inches the military restriction. Now he just wants 1 billion gold soul coins, and he dares to bargain with me. Bastard, is 1 billion gold soul coins a lot? Isn't it just digging out the economy of the Xingluo Empire for hundreds of years in the future? What kind of economy does a defeated country need? What is the purpose of the economy? If he dares to ask for the economy today, he will dare to send troops to conquer the kingdom and foreign colonies again tomorrow, and he will dare to attack the Ming Empire again the day after tomorrow. If I didn't hurt him the first time, and make them know that war is built step by step with money, how could they cherish the peace that they have waited for so long? Don't worry, I don't want you Xingluo Empire to pay all at once, we can pay in installments. After hearing Zhu Nian'an's words, Daoshen took a deep breath. It can be paid in installments, not all at once. Seeing that the Xingluo Empire really couldn't come up with so much money, Zhu Nian'an couldn't help but feel a little sorry. If the Xingluo Empire could really come up with so much money, the Ming Empire could instantly enter a rapid development mode. No less than 10 million per year, and the interest rate will increase by 5% every 10 years. Zhu Nian'an said casually. The last stipulation is nothing more than that they're afraid that the Xingluo Empire will keep dragging it out and won't pay it back even if they have the money. Okay. Zhu Nian'an's main negotiation conditions have finally been negotiated. The last things that need to be negotiated, such as metal mines, gold mines, silver mines, the Ming army stationed in Xingluo, etc. Only need other people to come. Zhu Nian'an's time is very precious. Now time is completely money. The news that the Xingluo Empire was defeated and Xingluo City was besieged may not have spread yet. Even if it was spread, it would not spread far. Zhu Nian'an could have taken this opportunity to return to the border of Taming and catch the Tianzhou Empire off guard. When the Emperor of Xingluo, Daoshen, finally had no choice but to sign the treaty, a cold system prompt sounded in Zhu Nian'an's mind. Ding! Congratulations to the host for completing the main task, leading the army in person, defending the country, defeating the invaders, and becoming famous on the continent. In fact, when Zhu Nian'an defeated the kingdom of Binlang, Zhu Nian'an's reputation had already spread throughout the continent. Now it's just icing on the cake. Just when Zhu Nian'an wanted to confirm the completion of the task and receive the main task reward, the guards reported the news again. Report, Your Majesty, the Kingdom of Hadrian declared independence, joined the Western Alliance and the United Nations, and is willing to pay tens of millions of gold soul coins to the Ming dynasty. Oh, that's interesting. Hearing this news, Zhu Nian'an couldn't help but raise his eyebrows. It seems that the other party must have known some news, so he decisively left the Xingluo Empire and joined the Western Alliance and the United Nations, and was willing to pay protection fees to clean up Zhu Nian'an's reputation as the initiator of the Ming Empire. In fact, Zhu Nian'an's guess was not wrong. Ever since Hagen days approached Tianxing Kingdom under the name of NATO and the United Nations, Tianxing Kingdom has been watching the battlefield between Xingluo Empire and Ming Empire. On the day when Xingluo City was found to be surrounded by Ming army and the Ming flag was hung, it directly declared independence. And the next day, it came with money to pay protection fee. In the first year of Xingluo Empire, 150 million gold soul coins were paid as compensation for defeat. You know, this is the accumulation of Xingluo Empire for thousands of years, and now the treasury has run out of money. Seeing this scene, Zhu Nian'an smiled so hard that his teeth were exposed. 160 million in hand, wow, ha 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 ha. Do you know how much 160 million is? It can't be pulled by a carriage. Chapter 36 The First Empire on the Continent. Chapter 36 Northern Expedition. Shame. This is simply a lifetime shame for himself and the Xingluo Empire. As the emperor of the defeated Xingluo Empire, Daoshen not only signed the humiliating treaty of ceding territory and paying compensation. Not only did he pay a large amount of compensation for the defeat, but he also signed a military restriction treaty, ceding the Away Mountains 100 miles away from Xingluo City to the Ming Empire, and used it as a residence for the Ming army stationed in Xingluo. In modern terms, this is a military base stationed in the Xingluo Empire in the future. This is a place that the Ming Empire chose after careful consideration. In fact, the Away Mountains and the Great God Lake Defense Line are at the same point and in a straight line. Like the Great God Lake Defense Line, it is only 100 kilometers away from the Xingluo Empire's capital, Xingluo City. This is why Zhu Nian'an chose this place. Of course, if the Great God Lake Defense Line had not been polluted by Zhu Nian'an's nuclear bomb, it would be better to build a military base there, and it would also be easy to contain the Xingluo Empire. But now that things have happened, although the Away Mountains are close to the Dongamos province of the Xingluo Empire, it is still no problem to contain the Xingluo Empire. Bang! Damn it, bastard, you want me to suffer great humiliation? This is simply the shame of the empire. Inside the Xingluo Palace. After Zhu Nian'an and the Ming army withdrew from the palace, the emperor of the Xingluo Empire, Daoshen, was instantly furious. Lost. The war initiated by the Xingluo Empire was lost. What Daoshen couldn't stand the most was that he lost to a country that was just a small kingdom a year ago, and this country had been established for less than 3 months. Less than 3 months would be fine, but the most unbearable thing for Daoshen was that this time it was not just the Xingluo Empire that attacked the Ming dynasty. The Xingluo Empire and the Tianzhou Empire joined forces to attack the Ming Dynasty, and his Xingluo Empire took the lead, and then was defeated in less than a month. The compensation for the defeat was 1 billion. What a concept! 1 billion, this amount will take the Xingluo Empire hundreds of years to pay off. Thinking of the Xingluo Empire's accumulated wealth over the years, 150 million was now looted by the Ming Empire. Daoshen couldn't help but feel a pain in his heart. Send an order, go to the Great God Lake and call Xiaoyao back to me. Damn it, how did he defend the Great God Lake defense line? How could he let the Ming army surround Xingluo City? Let him roll back. Daoshen was furious. 150 million, this is definitely not a small amount. This amount of money is almost 99% of the Xingluo Empire's assets. So much money was suddenly taken away by the Ming Empire. If nothing unexpected happens, at least, the Xingluo Empire's economy may not be able to recover for at least 10 years. Daoshen's voice had just been passed down. A series of hurried footsteps suddenly resounded in the palace hall. Report. Bailey urgent. After a while, a guard in black armor ran over quickly with a pale face. No, it's not good, Your Majesty. Seeing the panic of the visitor, Daoshen's eyes fixed. Looking at the other person, Daoshen felt panic for no reason. Wasn't this the person he sent out last night to investigate the abnormality of the Great God Lake defense line? How, Your Majesty, it's gone, everything is gone. At this time, the 700,000 troops in the Great God Lake defense line, and even the entire Great God Lake defense line, and the entire Great God Lake, have all been flattened to the ground. As soon as the voice was finished, the guard's eyes bulged, bleeding from all 7 orifices, and he knelt on his knees. In an instant, he lost control of his body and fell to the ground unconscious. Imperial Physician. But Daoshen's head was buzzing at this time. The elite soldiers of the Ming Dynasty were able to quietly pass the Great God Lake defense line and surround Xingluo City. In fact, he was a little prepared in his heart. For example, the Ming soldiers were divided into 2 groups, one to delay that battlefield and the other to make it easier. But he never expected that the Ming Dynasty would destroy all his 800,000 troops. It would be fine if they were dispersed, but he also flattened the battle line and a super large reservoir lake. In fact, at this moment, Daoshen still had a little unrealistic fantasy in his heart. The situation was stronger than the person. Daoshen thought about signing a humiliating treaty, and then summoning the army to unite with the Tianzhou army again to launch a general counterattack. Deep in his heart, he was still praying that the northern battlefield would perform well and achieve good results. After all, only if the Ming Empire lost could he get back his own territory. Only then could he get back his own gold soul coins, and he would not have to pay the 1 billion in compensation for the defeat. Unfortunately, all this was just his own fantasy. A defeated country is a defeated country after all. Ding! Congratulations to the host for completing the main task. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the 9th level Soul Guide Peacemaker Little Girl production drawings. National Defense Missile, North Wind. First class full summoning card. Only in this world, 800,000-year-old active spirit ring. On the other side, in the luxurious carriage guarded by the Ming army, Nian'an took out his spare time to directly receive the system's main task reward. Damn, system, did you embezzle my reward? Looking at the system's reward, to be honest, Nian'an was a little speechless. How can this reward be getting less and less? Nian'an didn't understand. The previous rewards were getting more and more awesome, especially when the empire was established last time, all kinds of awesome things were available. Ding, the difficulty of the task depends on the height of the reward. The system believes that it is the responsibility of an empire to protect his own territory. Seeing the system's explanation, Nian'an's old face flushed. Well, it seems to be true. When I established the empire, there were also special rewards for the empire. At the time, it was understandable that the rewards were a little richer. Moreover, this time's reward is not really bad, it's just that it's a little less impressive than before. Well, after working hard for half a month, I finally got my 4th spirit ring. As soon as he returned to Xingluo City, Nian'an wanted to absorb the 800,000-year-old active spirit ring he had just obtained. But before he could make any move, a young general in red armor came to report. Report to Your Majesty. Tianzhou is coming with 500,000 troops and invading the border. Nian'an heard the news, but before he could react, the cold prompt sound in his mind rang again. Ding, trigger the main task. defeat the Tiando coalition army, and become the most powerful country on the continent. Main task, the first empire on the continent. Listening to the report of the red-robed young general, and then looking at the system prompt panel that popped up in front of him. Nian'an sighed slightly, turned around slowly, and turned his back to everyone. I have been walking on thin ice all my life. Gather the troops, and march north. Nian'an's voice was sonorous and powerful, just like a shot of cardiotonic to the many soldiers present. My fellow soldiers, the revolution is not yet complete. You still need to work hard. This battle must be fought, for the Empire and for your future home. The first blow will open the way for 100 more battles to come. Chapter 37 Rage. Chapter 37 Rage. July 20, 2625. Following the defeat of Xingluo, the day that defeat treaty was announced, the Tiando Empire, together with the Barak Kingdom, formed an army of 500,000 to invade the border of the Ming dynasty. The second famous Ming War began at the border between Gilai City and Tiando. However, this time, the number of people in the Ming Empire was obviously much smaller. So, on the afternoon of the 20th, the Tiando Alliance Army and the 100,000 Dragon Guards led by Xiaoyao started the first conflict. 100,000 versus 500,000, a full five-fold advantage in numbers. At the beginning of the battle, the scene was like a meat grinder, and soldiers from both sides fell quickly. Although each of the Dragon Guards was at the peak limit of human beings, the difference in numbers was there, and a large number of people were lost at once. It's bad, the difference in numbers is too big. Looking at the soldiers wearing gold and dragon armor falling one by one, Xiaoyao felt heartbroken. These were the soldiers who accompanied him to occupy the Gilai Kingdom, recover the lost Xingluo Principality, and defeat the enemy country, the Binlan Kingdom. No one knows the invincible fighting power of the Dragon Guards better than Xiaoyao. Everyone in it is at the peak of their prime, and they are the best that he has never seen in other places or other armies. Even the Great Snow Dragon Cavalry. The Great Snow Dragon Cavalry is a heavy cavalry. On horseback, the Dragon Guards may not be able to match it, but on the ground, the Dragon Guards can definitely fight 1 against 3. Kill. Kill these bastards. His Majesty said that during the month when he personally leads the expedition, we must protect the Ming dynasty. Even if it costs my life, we must protect the beautiful mountains and rivers of the Ming dynasty. The Dragon Guards showed unprecedented ferocity and would not retreat even if they died. Seeing their comrades fall one by one, they were not afraid. Their eyes were red and bloodshot, and it was obvious that they were bloodshot. It was obvious that they had bloodshot eyes. For a moment, even the Tiando coalition, which had the advantage in numbers, was stunned. They did not dare to move forward. A quarter of an hour later, the Tiando coalition withdrew from the border of the Ming dynasty. Facing the Dragon Guards, those blood-red eyes, the Tiando coalition was afraid. The first conflict ended in failure. After a rough calculation, more than 40,000 were injured and more than 50,000 died. This is definitely a tragic number. You know, there are only 100,000 Dragon Guards stationed on the border of the Ming. Bang. Asshole, what's going on? According to the investigation, there are only 100,000 troops stationed on the border of the Ming. How can 100,000 people show such a strong combat organization ability? After hearing the words of the Tiando commander, the deputy general stood up hesitantly. General, the opponent is very strong. It can be clearly seen that the opponent must have killed blood in the end. In the end, our people were scared. That's right, the current Dragon Guards have physical fitness that almost surpasses 3 or 5 people. Simply put, on the battlefield, killing blood red almost kills a kid with one knife. Damn it, we can't drag it on any longer. Isn't the Ming Empire good at blitzkrieg? Tonight we will use their tactics to blitzkrieg the Ming Empire. The face of the Tiando commander was grim. As the commander of Tiando this time, he would never make the same mistake as others. The battle must be resolved quickly. Now that the main force of the Ming Empire is pinned down in the south, this is simply a great opportunity. And, at the border of the Ming Empire, the Gilai defense line. The Dragon Guards were not doing well either. In the afternoon battle, they lost nearly 15,000 people. 15,000 people, what a concept. You know, the Dragon Guards have never suffered such a big loss. After fighting for so long, the total number is no more than a few thousand people. And every time there is a loss in a battle, the Dragon Guards are the first to replenish. Night. Inside the military camp. Xiaoyao looked outside with an ugly face. At this time, the sky happened to snow. Although, in the afternoon, the Dragon Guards broke out and pressed 500,000 people to fight. But in Xiaoyao's heart, there was always a bad premonition. The Dragon Guards were the second army of the Ming dynasty. The first army was the Imperial Guards, but they were directly wiped out because they fought against the 500,000-strong army of Tianzhou. If it weren't for the fact that the Imperial Guards had descendants in Minqing and could inherit the glory of their fathers, the Imperial Guards might have been disbanded. Xiaoyao had a very ominous premonition in his heart, that is, this time, it is very likely that the Dragon Guards would also be lost here. Woohoo! Enemy attack! Enemy attack! The next moment, the entire military camp sounded the horn of emergency assembly. Xiaoyao's heart went dark. It's the Tianzhou Joint Army. Choke. Another round of chopping and killing sounded. On the other side, Nian'an led 300,000 Great Snow Dragon Riders, 100,000 elite soldiers, 100,000 Dragon Guards, a total of 500,000 people, across the Xingdou Great Mountain Range to defend Gilai City. On the first day, Nian'an and his men did not arrive until dawn, when the scouts could see the appearance of Gilai City through several mountains. Your Majesty, the army will be able to reach General Xiaoyao in one day at the fastest and in the afternoon at the shortest. Hearing this news, Nian'an ran to a high mountain and took a look. He breathed a sigh of relief when he saw that the flag of the Ming dynasty was still hanging on Gilai City. Gilai City is a must-go city for Tianzhou to go to Ming dynasty. If the Tianzhou Empire wants to invade Ming dynasty, it must take down Gilai City. Now the flag of Ming dynasty is still flying on Gilai City, which means that although the border of Ming dynasty has been invaded, at least the city has not been lost. Xiaoyao held on. 21st. After a night of fighting, Gilai City finally held on. But this is the limit of Xiaoyao and the Dragon Guard. Inside and outside Gilai City, there are corpses everywhere, and blood gathers into streams, just like the last time the Tianzhou Empire attacked the city. Last night, the Dragon Guard lost 50,000 people, and the rest were more or less injured. Among the Tianzhou coalition forces. Assholes, trash, human machines. An army of 500,000, facing 100,000, and almost lost half of its people. With a five-fold difference in numbers, you can still be killed even if you are fighting 5 to 1. Do you know how to play? The leader of the Tianzhou coalition turned pale. His fists were clenched tightly together, and his chest kept rising and falling. Yesterday, plus the losses of last night, the Tianzhou coalition had almost lost 200,000 people in the battle. This is not counting those who have lost their combat ability but are still alive. Trash. Damn it, if it weren't for the trash Xiaoyao who brought the Royal Artillery Regiment to send us last time, how could I, Xiaoyao, not even take a city? More than half of the troops were lost, and the number of the opponent was almost at the bottom. Now Xiaoyao had to go up even if he had to bite the bullet and grit his teeth. This time, I will lead the army. My Tianzhou Empire is supremely glorious. Afternoon. When Nian'an was approaching Gilai City, he suddenly heard a burst of shouting and killing. Brothers, hold on a little longer. Kill them, His Majesty will avenge us. Protect General Xiaoyao. Nian'an's face changed. Open the city gate. With a roar, the back gate of Gilai City collapsed in an instant. At first glance, Nian'an saw the golden armor all over the ground. The golden armor all over the ground, the faces of those who fell one by one. Nian'an was unfamiliar, but the armor they were wearing, Nian'an knew, isn't this his own Dragon Guard? They were all over the ground, and there was no end in sight. Looking at so many Dragon Guards lying on the ground, Nian'an felt a sudden pain in his heart. Kill that general. The commander said that if you kill him, you will be promoted 3 levels, 1,000 gold coins, a mansion in Tianzhou City, and countless beauties. Kill one of the Dragon Armored army around him, and you will be promoted 1 level. Hearing this reward, Nian'an's head banged, his face instantly turned red, and he looked up. The Tianzhou flag appeared not far away, and in the center of the Tianzhou army, there was still a group of people surrounding it. Nian'an's eyes were cold. Kill them for me, kill them all without leaving a single one alive. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novel, as there you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 38 Northern Expedition to Tianzhou. Chapter 38 Northern Expedition to Tianzhou. Soldiers, raise your spears and face your enemies. Swish, swish, swish. In the ranks of the great snow dragon riders, sharp spears were raised instantly. Kill! A roar that broke the sky instantly resounded through the world, in unison, as if one person was roaring. Trample, trample, trample. The trampling of iron hooves and the whistling of the wind resounded even in an instant. Ping pong pong. The strong impact of the great snow dragon riders directly divided the battlefield, devouring the Tiandou United Army step by step. The center of the Tiandou United Army, seeing that he was about to take down Gilai City with great difficulty, wipe out the remaining Dracmama army, and kill Xiuye, the first general of the Ming dynasty. Xiuye never thought that in the last second, his army was about to wipe out the enemy army and capture the city with a crushing momentum, and win a great victory. The next second, the army was in chaos, and a group of silver-armored and white-robed soldiers directly dispersed his army. Seeing that Xiuye and the remaining Dracmama army were right in front of him, why did they fail every time at the critical moment? In an instant, Xiuye's eyes turned red. What's going on? What's going on? Xiuye's roar resounded in the Tiandou coalition. Soon, a scout came to report in a hurry. It's bad, General, Gilai City is now completely surrounded by the Ming army. Swish. Hearing this news, Xiuye's eyes condensed. In an instant, he looked at the group of silver-armored and white-robed soldiers. He saw that among the huge army, from time to time, the flag-bearers holding the Sunday and Moon Ming flag flashed by. What the scout said was indeed correct, this was the army of the Ming dynasty. And the people who came this time have far surpassed his own Tiandou coalition. Damn it, bastards, shouldn't these damning troops be on the battlefield of Xingluo Empire now? How could they appear here? Xiuye was shocked to hear that this was the Ming army, and there were so many of them, and they were the main forces of the Ming dynasty. He took a deep look at Xiuye, who was still being surrounded not far away, and gave a decisive order. Retreat. Retreat. The main forces of the Ming dynasty have all returned, so there is no need to continue fighting the next battle. Because no matter how you fight, you will not win. The palace of the Tiandou Empire. On the third day after Xingluo City was surrounded by the great snow dragon cavalry, the Xingluo Empire announced the news of defeat and had signed a defeat treaty. When this news reached the Barak Kingdom, it was already a day later. The Barak Kingdom could have passed the news to the Tiandou Empire on the same day. However, the kingdom sandwiched between it and the Tiandou Empire was no longer in the same camp. The Barak Kingdom could only send people to take a long detour to pass the news back to the Tiandou Empire. During this period, about another day passed. That is, it was 5 days later that the Tiandou Empire received the news. Just got the news, the Tiandou Empire was all stunned. Xingluo Empire was defeated, less than a month after the war started, 800,000 troops, lost. After learning the news, Tiandou Empire Emperor Xiuye immediately summoned the ministers of Tiandou Empire. All the officials discussed what to do next. You know, under normal circumstances, Xingluo Empire is stronger than Tiandou Empire. Now Xingluo Empire is not the opponent of Ming Empire, let alone Tiandou Empire. Moreover, there is no sign of Xingluo Empire's defeat. The above defeat treaty made Tiandou Empire tremble with fear. 10 billion gold soul coins are not enough, there are also various military restrictions. Normally, as long as the brain is not broken, as a monarch of a country, he will not sign this treaty. This also indirectly ruled out the possibility that Ming and Xingluo Empire jointly sign some secret treaty. Immediately stop all military actions against Ming. Withdraw, Ming-Do order. After a long time, the latest instructions were conveyed from the Tiandou Emperor's State Council. It is obvious that the strength displayed by the Ming dynasty now is far beyond that of the Tiandou Empire. Otherwise, it would be impossible for the 500,000 troops of the Tiandou Empire to be buried in the Ming-Do Canyon. Now, the Tiandou Empire needs time. They want to verify what the situation is on the Xingluo Empire. Saying that they don't want to fight, what a joke, isn't this selling out the Tiandou Empire in disguise? Unfortunately, Nian'an will not give them this opportunity. Gilai City lost. Xiuye watched helplessly as his guards fell one by one, the Tiandou coalition was divided and killed, and some surrendered. But the Ming army seemed to have not heard it. There was only one word in their eyes, that is, kill. Comparing speed with the great snow dragon cavalry, it is obvious that the Tiandou coalition lost. 100,000 people were captured, plus him, the commander of the coalition. No, you can't kill me, I'm the commander of the Tiandou coalition, a member of the Tiandou royal family, the youngest commander, the youngest general, you can't kill me. I surrender. Don't kill me. Don't kill me. I can bring you a lot of money. Xiaoyao looked at the corpses all over the ground, and the people around him who begged for mercy were beheaded by the snow dragon riders without hesitation. Their cold and ruthless expressions seemed to be slaughtering beasts. At this point, he couldn't help but feel a little scared. Until he was pressed against a huge Ming flag and a luxurious carriage, his mentality collapsed. He couldn't die. He was the youngest commander of the Tianxing Empire, the youngest general, and he still had a bright future. He was also a member of the Tianxing royal family. He couldn't die like those civilian soldiers in this barren battlefield. Look up. A faint voice rang out, and Xiaoyao trembled all over and his body stiffened. I want you to look up. The next moment, a burst of laughter rang out instantly. Swish. Xiaoyao raised his head instantly. Under the dazzling dusk, the sun and moon flags were a little dazzling, and a tall and majestic figure slowly appeared in his eyes. Is this, the Emperor of the Ming dynasty, this damn oppression? Xiaoyao was pressed to his knees on the ground, raised his head, and looked at the man in front of him in horror. Who allowed you to cross the border of the Ming dynasty? Who gave you the courage to touch my dragon guards? Who is it? Tell me. Nian'an got a total of 200,000 dragon guards when he first signed in. These 200,000 can definitely be used as 500,000. Because Xingluo launched a war, Nian'an had to separate the 200,000 and put 100,000 on the border of Mindou to protect the Ming dynasty. 100,000 were personally led to attack the Xingluo Empire. There is no way to avoid death in a war, although Nian'an had been prepared and hit psychological expectations in his heart. But he really didn't expect that the casualties would be so great. The 100,000 dragon guards were killed by the Ming coalition forces until the last 3,000 people. These 3,000 people fought to protect Xiaoyao and finally held on until the arrival of the great snow dragon riders. This is why Nian'an was so angry. You know, the dragon guards are rewarded by the system, they are 100% loyal to him, and they are also the strongest infantry, army, and they can also awaken martial arts spirits. In the future, the energy brought to him by these 100,000 people will definitely not be less than that of 1,000,000 elite soldiers. Now, all are lost here, and Nian'an is in pain. You know, in the Xingluo battlefield, in order to avoid the loss of the great snow dragon riders, Nian'an directly dropped a nuclear bomb regardless of the lives of 700,000 people. You can't, wow choke. Before Xiaoyao could finish speaking, a sharp sword appeared in Nian'an's hand, and he easily cut off the opponent's head. Northern Expedition, Tianxing. Chapter 39 Xiaoyao Alliance. Chapter 39 Xiaoyao Alliance. When Nian'an chopped down the long sword in his hand without hesitation, hundreds of thousands of great snow dragon riders present did not hesitate at all. They chopped down the remaining prisoners of war with their butcher knives. Puff. Puff. Blood gushed out like a fountain, and in a flash, there were more than 100,000 headless corpses on the scene. Is it cruel to use the butcher knife on 100,000 prisoners of war who have given up resistance? The answer is cruel, more than a little cruel, but Nian'an doesn't care. In the past, Nian'an did not hesitate to use the butcher knife on the country behind him and millions of civilians just because a group of people from the defeated country wanted to assassinate him. It showed what it means to be a true emperor who killed millions of people in anger. On the battlefield, he did not hesitate to trap and kill 500,000 Tianxing troops and drop nuclear bombs, and every time the number of deaths was more than hundreds of thousands. In Nian'an's eyes, there are only two kinds of people. His own people, and others. Between his own people and others, Nian'an will choose his own people without hesitation. Therefore, let alone that there were only 100,000 prisoners of war, even if there were as many as 1,000,000 prisoners of war, Nian'an would not hesitate to kill them. Killing the so-called Tianxing coalition commanders did not calm Nian'an's anger. Instead, it made Nian'an's anger even greater. Such a loser. Just 500,000 people destroyed a 100,000 strong dragon guard. Nian'an was in pain and raging with anger. Obviously, it wouldn't take much longer to wait. Nian'an would arrange for them to awaken their martial spirits. By then, they would absorb spirit rings and become spirit masters, and 100,000 against 500,000 would be easily crushed. Unfortunately, there was no obvious, and no if. Xiaoyao. The moment Nian'an's voice just fell, a middle-aged man with long hair, 3 arrows stuck in his chest, pale face, and bloodless lips slowly walked out from the crowd. Zhu Yi, because of his outstanding talent as a soul master, achieved the Soul Empire before the age of 35, and was highly valued by the previous king. He was specially recruited as the commander of the Imperial Guard. Now, at the age of 35, he has become a 71st level strong attack system Soul Saint, after special blessing. You have disappointed me so much. Plop. I deserve death. If it weren't for your majesty, I would have let the Tiando coalition army step into Gilai city and harm the people of the Ming dynasty. I didn't do what was ordered, to defend the city for a month. I deserve death. This is my dereliction of duty. I ask your majesty to punish me alone. The remaining 3,000 drachma soldiers around me died in battle and did not retreat. The 100,000 drachma soldiers fought to protect the Ming dynasty and the country of the Ming dynasty and died in battle. Zhu Yi's soul power was surging all over his body. After saying this, his eyes turned black and he fainted completely. Your majesty. General Zhu Yi tried his best. There were really too many enemy troops. He couldn't kill them all. Your majesty, please don't punish the general again. Walla. As soon as the work fell, the 3,000 dragon guards knelt down. Nian'an's pupils and eyes condensed. He really didn't expect that the people summoned by the system also had feelings. Nian'an thought that they were lower than Zhu Yi, the NPC. After all, they were summoned by the system, but now it seems that he underestimated them. The other party is also a real person, with blood, feelings, and flesh. With the same long black hair, pupils, and yellow, flesh, skin. After a long time, Nian'an took a long breath and waved his hands. It hurts too much. It hurts even more inside. To have their own feelings means that they are also real people, who can get married and have children, and can make unlimited contributions to the Ming dynasty, and have countless generations of descendants. 100,000 people, damn, if one person has 3 to 5 children, that's 500,000. Raise the army. It hurts, but the war still has to be fought. With anger in his heart, Nian'an gave an order, and 300,000 great snow dragon riders and the remaining 100,000 dragon guards, 50,000 elite soldiers were mobilized instantly. This time, Nian'an did not use all his people to attack Tiando. After 2,500,000, I believe that the current military strength of the Tiando Empire has been about to collapse. At most, it is less than 300,000. Nian'an can sweep Tiando with 450,000. A day later, the people stationed on the other side of the Ming-Do border found something strange. Because the Tiando army has been more than 24 hours, and there has been no response. In other words, the 500,000-man Tiando coalition lost contact again. In the afternoon, when the silver-armored and white-robed army from the other side of the Ming-Do mountains came, the Tiando defenders were instantly trembling. The Bailey emergency mode was instantly activated. That afternoon, Emperor Zhu Yi in the Tiando Palace received another urgent message from Bailey. What? The 500,000-strong coalition army of Tiando lost contact. It was this familiar plot again. 500,000 people lost contact again, but another piece of news in the letter made Emperor Zhu Yi feel cold. The Ming army crossed the Ming-Do border and entered the capital of the Tiando Empire, the Dao province. Soon, the State Council once again summoned all officials to open the Tiando Congress. But before they could discuss any results, Nian'an led the army and crossed the Jinling Mountains and Guen Hills unimpeded, and across a river, facing the prosperous Tiando city across the river. And in one afternoon, he quickly surrounded the entire Tiando city. All this went so smoothly, thanks to Emperor Zhu Yi. Because last time Long Xiaoyao let it slip a little, Zhu Yi was scared and summoned the army to defend the palace overnight. In addition to the army attacking the Ming dynasty, there were still 200,000 Tiando troops in Tiando city at this time. All other local troops were empty. Even a place with 10,000 troops is extremely rare. How could it be possible to stop Nian'an's 400,000 troops? Along the way, Nian'an did not hesitate to order a complete annihilation of those who were blocked. Tiando Palace. Your Majesty, we are surrounded. When this news reached the ears of Emperor Zhu Yi, who was still in the Tiando State Council, discussing how to deal with the Ming army, the scene was instantly silent. What? The next moment, the State Council exploded instantly. Some people said before that they would gather troops again and ask the kingdom and Xingluo Empire for reinforcements. Some said that they were setting up traps and killings. There were all kinds of messes, but this was all based on the premise that the capital Tianzing city had not been surrounded and they still had time to prepare. Now that Tianzing city was surrounded, what the hell was there to fight? What the hell was there to fight? Making small moves under the noses of others. Your Majesty, in my opinion, why don't we negotiate? Yes, the economy of the Ming dynasty is not very good, we can form an economic alliance with the other side. Anyway, Nian'an didn't know what the other party was thinking. He sent an envoy to negotiate that night. He wanted to form an alliance with Nian'an at the Wei River. Question mark. You said, your Tianzing Empire wants to form an alliance with my Ming dynasty. After hearing Nian'an's words, the envoy smiled and nodded excitedly. Yes, we will give you the Ming dynasty the same way of development as our empire. Send people, factories, and funds to help the local economy of the Ming dynasty rise. After the matter is done, the capitalists' money will go back to their own homes, and the people's money will be divided into 30% and 70%, and we will get 70%. Hearing this, Nian'an almost laughed. Li Shimin. I know this script well. The other party actually wanted to conclude an alliance with him, imitating the Wei River alliance of Li Shimin of the Tang dynasty. It takes time to develop the local economy, but there's no need to rob it. It's a huge profit. After hearing Nian'an's words, the messenger's face changed drastically. Chapter 40. Imitate the Xingluo Empire. Chapter 40. Imitate the Xingluo Empire. Your Majesty, the Empire of the Ming dynasty, what do you mean by this? As a promising young man in the 26th century, you would not want to choose an unrighteous robbery, would you? How do you let the people of the entire continent view the Ming dynasty? How do you let tens of millions of citizens of the Tianzing Empire view the Ming dynasty? Please note that the Tianzing Empire used the word superior country here, and the meaning of this is self-evident. The Tianzing Empire is willing to surrender and admit defeat, but does not want to show it. It doesn't matter what it says in secret. But will Nian'an give him this face? The answer is of course, no. Are you morally blackmailing me? Ha 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 ha. After hearing the other party's words, Nian'an really couldn't help it. The other party is still morally blackmailing him until now. Nian'an laughed. The laugh was very rampant. Are you morally blackmailing a tyrant who massacres cities and destroys countries when he disagrees with them, and does things according to his own preferences? Do you think I care? What are your identities? What is my identity? What is the status of Tianzing citizens? What is my status? Will I care about their thoughts? Ants. Nian'an's cold words came out one by one, like a sharp dagger piercing the other's heart. Yes. Who is in front of him? This is a man who slaughtered 200,000 enemy troops on the day of his accession to the throne, destroyed the Xingluo principality supported by the Xingluo Empire, recovered lost territory, and completely broke through the Nian'an Kingdom in just 1 month. He slaughtered millions of Nian'an tribes according to his own preferences. Even if the two empires united, they could not make this man bow his head, but instead lost millions of troops. How could such a man bow his head because of a few rumors? How could he bow his head because of the accusations of some civilians? Morality. It's just a restriction in the hands of royal power that restrains ordinary people. Go back and tell your master. On the huge dragon carriage, the majestic sun and moon flags were fluttering in the strong wind. Nian'an just sat quietly on the dragon-patterned chair. He lazily supported his head with his right hand and looked at the Tianzing envoy coldly. I will only give you 1 day, 12 hours. If you can't satisfy me within this day and 12 hours, there is no need for your Tianzing city to exist. Boom. The Tianzing envoy's head roared, his body softened instantly, and he collapsed to the ground. 4 words instantly emerged in his mind. Massacre, massacre the city and destroy the country. Do you want to ask if Nian'an really dares to do this? No, you can't ask that, and they don't dare to gamble. After all, Nian'an is not the first time to do this. He is not only brave, but also experienced. Understand? Nian'an's cold voice rang out again, and the Tianzing envoy trembled after hearing it. No. I'll go back and report. Watching the Tianzing envoy leave, Nian'an looked up and looked down at the entire Tianzing city. Tianzing city is indeed the capital of the richest empire on the continent, the Tianzing Empire. Its magnificence far exceeds that of Xingluo. Not only that, it is also a super city. There are many people living in it. If Nian'an hadn't brought a lot of people this time, it is estimated that he might not be able to surround the city. Tianzing Empire Palace. Your Majesty, that's right, that's what they said. And they only gave us 1 day. Once the time is exceeded, they will not hesitate to take action. After hearing the word from the envoy, the civil and military officials in the Tianzong Empire were silent in the court meeting. How can the Ming dynasty be like this? We're their elder brother after all. Have they forgotten our help in the past? That's right, that's right. If we hadn't agreed to cede the kingdom of Binlang to them, could the Ming dynasty have developed into an empire so quickly? Now they dare to turn the tables on us. They are just a bunch of ungrateful people. We still want to share the economic development methods and let them take a few hundred years of detours. They are just idiots who are not worth discussing with. In the court, among the officials, the civil servants jumped out and cursed. They didn't mention that if it weren't for their consent, the Douluo Kingdom would not have sent 200,000 troops to the city on the day Nian'an ascended the throne. They didn't mention that when the Ming dynasty wanted to be independent and wanted to establish an empire, they obstructed it in every possible way, and even sent 500,000 troops and horses, and even joined forces with the Xingluo Empire to propose the division of the Ming dynasty. On the main seat, Emperor Zhuyi frowned. Damn it, how did it develop into what it is now? Didn't Nian'an just want an explanation at the beginning? Why did it develop into this? Emperor Zhuyi grabbed his head in distress. There was nothing he could do at this point. They really had to wait until the Ming army surrounded Tianzong City and put a knife on their necks before they began to regret. Above all officials and below the throne, there was another person, and that also had a rare seat. At this time, the eldest Prince Xukinghe's brows were also frowned. Nian'an originally wanted to take advantage of the death and assassination of the third prince to kill Nian'an, who had had close contact with Xukinghe before. After all, she didn't know what was going on between the two of them. In order to avoid exposing herself, Nian'an never thought of it. Not only did her plan fail, but it made Nian'an completely let go of himself and grow up rapidly. The Tianzong Empire exerted pressure and completely abused. The two empires miraculously survived the siege, and now they have directly hit Tianzong City. Seeing that the Tianzong Empire was about to collapse, Xukinghe was a little restless. The plan that he had prepared for so long was going to fail. No way. It was not easy for Nian'an to kill the other princes. Now the fourth prince is still young, and she is the only candidate left to become the crown prince of Tianzong. If she fails at this time, all her previous efforts will be wasted. This is what Nian'an cannot tolerate. Let the country be defeated. It is better than all her efforts coming to nothing. Father, I have a skill. When everyone was at a loss, the eldest Prince Xukinghe stood up. Because the second prince died of illness, the third prince was assassinated, and the fourth prince was too young to be used. The eldest Prince Xukinghe was deeply valued by Emperor Zhuyi, who indirectly trained him as the future crown prince. This is why he can listen to government affairs, above all officials, and below the emperor. Swish Zhuyi, who was sitting in the main seat, raised his head suddenly. Kinghe, speak quickly. Xukinghe looked worried. At this point, we should focus on protecting our Tianzong Kingdom. If we want to satisfy the Ming dynasty, we can follow the example of the Xingluo Empire. As soon as the four words Xingluo Empire came out, the pupils of everyone present shrank fiercely. Xingluo Empire, ceding land and paying compensation, defeat treaty, military restriction treaty, hundreds of pages of densely packed paper may not be able to finish writing. Bullshit, Xukinghe, what is your intention to want the Tianzong Empire to sign a defeat treaty like the Xingluo Empire? Don't you know that this defeat treaty requires ceding land and paying compensation, and a compensation of 1 billion gold soul coins? This is a shame, my Tianzong Empire will never sign such a clause. Prince Tianxing stood out from the crowd, and he was also that first person in the court who was unhappy with Xukinghe. But before he could finish, Xukinghe turned around and said coldly, Uncle, do you want the Tianzong Empire and the Tianzong royal family to be exterminated? I believe you know the style of the Ming Empire better than I do. After speaking, Xukinghe turned his head and looked at Zhuyi. Father, please think twice before you act. Everything is for the Tianzong Kingdom, everything is for the Tianzong imperial family. Chapter 41 Take control of Tianzong. Chapter 41 Take over Tianzong. After hearing the words of the eldest Prince Xukinghe, no one in the Tianzong palace dared to speak. They all stared at him. Xukinghe was also shocked. He really didn't expect that Xukinghe would dare to directly criticize his speech. It's okay to criticize his speech. He was so decisive. After hearing the words of his eldest son, Zhuyi's eyes slowly condensed. Tiando Jiangshan, Tiando Imperial Family. Yes. I have to put Tiando Jiangshan and Tiando Imperial Family first. If the Min army flattened Tiando City one day later, it would be a purgatory on Earth. The Tiando Imperial Family and I will definitely become the focus of attention, and it is hard to say whether we can survive. I only care about the immediate interests. If I die, it is hard to say whether the Tiando Empire will be named Zhu in the future. I am not as good as a child, and I am not as clear as my son. In that moment, Emperor Zhu Yi felt that he was old. Suddenly, he raised his eyes and looked at Zhu Qinghao. He is young, he is decisive, he does not use any means to achieve his goals, he knows the big picture, he knows what he wants, and he takes the Tiando Imperial Family as the center. How much like himself when he was young, send an order, I am willing to sign the defeat treaty on behalf of the Tiando Empire. Emperor Zhu Yi gritted his teeth. He decided to do something else. If Zhu Qinghao said this, he would be stained. If he said it himself and did it himself, it would be his own business. As long as it works well, his son can not only not be the one who made the Tiando Empire sign the defeat treaty, but also be the hero who saves the Tiando Empire. 10 minutes later. In front of the imperial camp of the Deming Empire. Your Majesty, the Emperor of the Deming Empire, our Tiando Empire is willing to sign the defeat treaty like the Xingluo Empire. What do you think? When the messenger came to Zhu Nian'an carefully again. Zhu Nian'an looked up, without any emotion in his eyes. You said you don't want to fight, so don't fight. You said you want to surrender, so surrender. Does that mean the 100,000 dragon guards who died in the battle in Gilai city of the Min dynasty are written off? Plop. The Tiando envoy was very skilled and knelt down without saying a word. We Tiando are willing to seek land and pay compensation, just like the Xingluo Empire, to compensate for the defeat, 10 billion gold soul coins. Hearing this, Zhu Nian'an's face showed no expression. Cede land and pay compensation, isn't this what the defeated country must pay? 10 billion gold soul coins, that's the price on the battlefield of the Xingluo Empire. You don't think that my 100,000 dragon guards will die in vain for this? Rob. What is open robbery? Zhu Nian'an called this open robbery, but do they have any other way? If they don't obey, they will continue to fight. Zhu Nian'an will definitely beat them into submission. I understand. I wonder if the Empire of the Min dynasty can give a specific price. Da. Zhu Nian'an tapped his index finger lightly on the dragon-patterned chair, and couldn't help but want to laugh. If I were to do it myself, I would have to multiply my expectations several times. 5 billion. When Zhu Nian'an said the price, the Tiando envoy's head buzzed. 5 billion. How many carriages would it take to pull it? To be honest, Zhu Nian'an didn't want to give up. After all, there were 100,000 dragon guards. If they got married and had children in the Min dynasty, and the people they gave birth to got married and had children, the population of the Min dynasty would expand rapidly, and there would be no shortage of soldiers or people. Only then would it look like an empire. But there was no way, at least for now, Zhu Nian'an had no way, the population base of the Min dynasty was too small. People from other countries couldn't all be killed, and Zhu Nian'an didn't want people who didn't have the blood of the Min dynasty. The most important thing was that it couldn't trigger the special skill law of the king's power. 50% of the people of the Min Kingdom are loyal. Therefore, Zhu Nian'an could only ask for money, or take the women back to give the Min dynasty a wave of recuperation. In more than 10 years, the population soared to tens of millions. Only then will it be the time to truly unify the continent. Otherwise, Zhu Nian'an doesn't want the Min dynasty to fall apart and die in the second generation just after unifying the continent and ascending to heaven, just like a great country in the previous life. Or there will be another Min dynasty war god who will evaporate all the foundation of the Min dynasty overnight and return to the pre-liberation period. 5 billion. This is impossible. Tiando Palace. After learning the number revealed by Zhu Nian'an, everyone was shocked. 5 billion gold soul coins, let alone 5 billion gold soul coins, although the Tiando Empire is richer than the Xingluo Empire, they can't take out 10 billion gold soul coins. It's just that seeing that the old rival Xingluo Empire had no choice but to pay so much money, they are also prepared to pay so much money. But this is an extra 4 billion for no reason, and they really don't have enough balance. Father, since the Min dynasty is willing to giving, there is still room for negotiation. I am willing to go there to mediate. Zhu Qinghao stood up at the critical moment. He didn't want the Tiando Empire to fail at the critical moment. It was getting dark. It was him again. It was Yu Qinghe who stood up at the critical moment. Emperor Zui couldn't help but feel distressed. He felt ashamed of his son. Okay, you are worthy at being my son. Zui hugged Yu Qinghe into his arms and whispered a few words. No matter what, you must ensure your own safety. If we can reach an agreement, we will talk. If we can't, we will beg. The Tianzing imperial family is the main thing. In the future, the world will still depend on you. Yu Qinghe's pupils shrank slightly when he heard this. He already had a guess in his heart. Don't bother me to work so hard for so long. This old bastard finally plans to make me the prince. But this matter must be done beautifully. But others must not find any reason to do so, and Zui must have the opportunity to reward. Tianzing Empire, Yu Qinghe, pays respect to His Majesty the Emperor of the Ming Dynasty. Hearing this voice and this address, Nian'an's mouth corners slightly raised, and then quickly converged. This small action was instantly observed by Yu Qinghe. It seems that the relationship between the two of them is indeed beyond my expectations. Yu Qinghe saluted respectfully. Your Majesty the Emperor of the Ming Dynasty, 5 billion is too much, Nian'an waved his hand. Since my cousin is here, then it will be less, 4 billion. To be honest, in a short period of time, the Tianzing Empire will definitely not be able to come up with so much money. It will take more than 100 years for them to pay back the money. Such a long time is long enough for Nian'an to destroy them again and unify the continent. So Nian'an thought that in a short period of time, let the two empires give blood transfusions to the Ming Dynasty and provide money. After the Ming Dynasty develops, they will destroy them and unify the continent. Therefore, the amount of compensation paid by the Tianzing Empire is not much, but Nian'an's words. After hearing Nian'an's words, Yu Qinghe was secretly happy. It seems to be useful. Cousin, 4 billion is still a bit too much for my Tianzing. Come and drink, let's talk at the table. After saying that, Yu Qinghe waved his hand, and all kinds of delicious food appeared. Nian'an shook his head and looked at him with a playful look. 35. Yu Qinghe pursed his lips, almost done. Cousin, didn't you say last time that you wanted to bathe in my palace? Hearing this, Nian'an glanced at him. 30. If you want to continue, it depends on whether your sincerity is enough. Yu Qinghe gritted his teeth and turned to look at the great snow dragon riders around him. Everyone, it's cold outside Tianzing City. I invite everyone to come into Tianzing City for some fun. The great snow dragon riders commander quickly led people to the gate to Tianzing City at Nian'an's signal. We haven't received an order to open the city gate. The great snow dragon riders commander sneered when he heard this. Order. Swish, he wrote 2 words casually and threw them in the other person's face. This is the order. Swish. Welcome the Northern Expedition Min Army to enter the city. Before dark, all the Min troops entered Tianzing City, took over various important places, and skillfully replaced the flags of the Ming Dynasty. Entering Tianzing, at least now Tianzing City is under the control of Nian'an. Cousin, 2 billion is my bottom line. If it's less, our relationship will deteriorate. So, this project worth over 100 million will end here. Our relationship could have been further developed, but unfortunately, you destroyed it with your own hands. After saying that, Nian'an's face suddenly changed, and he shook off Yu Qinghe's hand that wanted to hug his shoulders. Chapter 42 Xiaoyao panic. Chapter 42 Xiaoyao panic. Cousin, what are you doing? Looking at Nian'an, whose expression suddenly changed, Yu Qinghe's smile froze. Nian'an did not directly answer his question, but showed a meaningful look. You know what I mean. After saying that, Nian'an turned around and left without any hesitation. Xiaoyao is now a clear card in Nian'an's eyes. The reason why he did not touch her is that it would not benefit him to touch her. He can still control the current plot, but if there is a problem with Xiaoyao, he may not be able to control it. For example, after exposing the other party's identity, the other party returns to the Spirit Hall. With Xiaoyao supported by the Elder Hall, can Bai Dong, the Pope of the Spirit Hall, still sit firmly? Damn it. He must have discovered something. He must have discovered something. Xiaoyao looked at Nian'an's back as he left, and her heart was frantically warmed. Her hands and silk gloves were tightly clasped together. The slender fingers in the silk gloves were pinched until they turned white. Tianzing Palace. Father, the amount of compensation has been negotiated. It has been reduced again and again until 2 billion gold soul coins. It really can't be reduced anymore. After hearing the words of the young man in white in the hall, the civil and military officials of Tianzing breathed a sigh of relief. The war compensation has been reduced from 5 billion to 2 billion, which is 2.5 times less. Although 2 billion is still a sum that the Tianzing Empire cannot afford, doesn't the Xingluo Empire also owe debts? It's just that it owes more. As for letting the Ming army enter Tianzing City, no one dared to say anything. In fact, it doesn't matter whether it is allowed or not. Tianzing City has been surrounded by the Ming army. If the other side wants to, it is only a matter of time to capture Tianzing City. Now why not change the condition of reducing the compensation for defeat? King Head, you have worked hard, retreat. Wait until tomorrow, I will personally discuss other treaties with them. Tianzing Royal Hotel. This place has long been requisitioned by Nian'an. All people within a radius of 10 kilometers have been expelled. The area has been requisitioned and heavily guarded. Top floor. Nian'an opened his eyes and looked down at the entire Tianzing City. The scene in front of him was like his own territory, as if he could reach out and grasp it. Unfortunately, this is not his. Tick. Nian'an squinted his eyes and felt the passage of time. Tianzing Palace. The Grand Prince's Palace. It's a pity to be exposed. Nian'an can't stay any longer. The longer he stays in Tianzing City, the more risk will be exposed. After hearing the word from the Grand Prince King Head, the two strong men suddenly knelt on one knee. It's the young master, let's get rid of him now. Whoosh! As soon as the voice fell, the two figures disappeared with a gust of wind, as if they had never appeared. The appearance of Nian'an has seriously affected Qian Ringxiu's lurking mission. In particular, he seems to have some special relationship with King Head. Qian Ringxiu was sweating profusely, not knowing when she would explode and be exposed. This feeling of holding her fate in the hands of others was not good. Tianzing Royal Hotel. Da-da-da. Nian'an's fingers were still tapping the dragon chair lightly. At this moment, the space shook and trembled. Long Xiaoyao slowly appeared. Two little mice are here. Hearing this, Nian'an's mouth curled up a smile. After waiting for so long, they are finally here. Long Xiaoyao frowned. Do you want me to deal with them? Nian'an shook his head. System, use the 10,000 Worlds mission summoning card. Buzz. The moment Nian'an said this, a cold prompt sound instantly rang in his mind. Ding! Congratulations to the host for summoning the peerless Tang Sect World, the blue silver saint of the Holy Spirit Church, Tianxing. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. In the silent night, two rays of light suddenly flashed by, directly exploding the silence in the night. Who? How dare you break into the Ming army camp? You're looking for death. The dragon guards were the first to notice something was wrong, and the snow dragon riders quickly mounted their horses to support them. Finish the young master's business, leave this to me. Bang! As soon as the word fell, a blood-red pufferfish appeared instantly. A ray of light instantly broke through the crowd and rushed towards the direction of the Tianzing Royal Hotel. Swish! At the moment when the other party was about to approach the hotel, a group of black-robed people wearing black robes and with various spirit rings floating on their feet appeared. Among them, the 8 rings exceeded 10, and the 7 rings were no less than 20. How is this possible? In an instant, Snakespear Douluo widened his eyes and looked at the black-robed people in front of him in disbelief. How could so many spirit masters, and so many high-level spirit masters, appear here? Light of the Holy Spirit. Bang! Rumble. At this moment, a burst of explosions rang out, and the sudden explosions made Snakespear Douluo turn around involuntarily. As soon as he turned around, a figure with 9 spirit rings floating in the distance came into view. Seal, titled Douluo. Not only are there so many high-level spirit masters on the opposite side, but there are also titled Douluos guarding. Snakespear Douluo turned around again without saying a word, wanting to break through by force and end his mission goal. This place is too weird. If he is a step slower, he may not even have a chance to escape. Want to leave? At this moment, a cold voice rang out. Then, in the dark night, countless figures quickly moved. Rustling. Blue-silver entanglement, blue-silver cage. Before Snakespear Douluo could turn around and escape, 2 black lights flashed, and his whole body was suddenly covered by black vines and tied tightly. Snakespear Douluo's eyes widened, unable to move. As a titled Douluo, he was completely unable to move after being hit by 2 soul skills. A beautiful figure slowly appeared in his horrified eyes. She was wearing a black dress, a single ponytail, a cold face, bright red lips, and a pair of cold eyes without any emotion. Meet the saint. Crash. All the black-robed people knelt on one knee, and the next second, the saint they were talking about floated out of a terrifying soul ring configuration. Black, 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 red, red, 7 black and 2 red. In the eldest prince's palace. Tianxing waited and waited, but until dawn, her 2 capable guards still didn't return. She couldn't help but get a little anxious. Tianxing just didn't want to expose herself, she just wanted the Ming dynasty to withdraw its troops, and then anyone could be the emperor, as long as it wasn't Nian'an. What a pity. What a pity that she thought too simply. She knew that Nian'an had a titled Douluo around him, and thought that if she sent 2 of them, one to contain the other, the assassination would be successful. Unexpectedly, she was wrong, so wrong. Seeing that the sky was about to be completely bright, and Ming and Tianxing were about to start another meeting, Tianxing could not sit still. Set up the sedan chair, I want to see the Emperor Ming. In the Tianxing Imperial Hotel. Nian'an was eating preserved egg and lean meat porridge in small sips. Your Majesty, the eldest prince of Tianxing Empire Xiaoyao wants to see you. Hearing this, Nian'an waved his hand expressionlessly. Didn't you see that I was busy eating? No. In fact, Nian'an had already figured out Tianxing's temper. She couldn't stand it if she was under a little pressure. If she wanted to assassinate him, he had to spur her on. Sorry, Our Majesty is having a meal and not seeing anyone. After hearing the words of the Dragon God, the face of Xiaoyao, played by Tianxing, changed wildly. He knew it, he must have known it. Otherwise, I wouldn't lose sight of myself. Chapter 43 Tianxing's Shame. Chapter 43 Tianxing's Shame. When the war between the 2 countries was at its worst, Tianxing was able to get an audience with Xiaoyang's face. Moreover, 3 billion was wiped out in the land cession and compensation. From then on, Tianxing could see how special the relationship between Xiaoyao and Nian'an was. You know, this is a full 3 billion, and it is unknown whether there are so many gold soul coins in the entire continent. Nian'an said it was waived. Since that meaningful look last night, the other party's attitude towards him has changed drastically. The assassination lasted for a night. His guards did not return for a night, and these are 2 titled Douluo. They did not return for a night, and did not report to him whether the assassination was successful. The meaning revealed is already very obvious. It is estimated that, probably, General, please go and talk to His Majesty the Emperor of the Ming dynasty. Just say, Tianxing's mind was working frantically, trying to think about what Nian'an likes. Unfortunately, Nian'an revealed that he liked a limited number of things in front of her. After thinking about it, she couldn't think of what Nian'an liked. Just when Tianxing was about to give up, a group of palace maids in light gauze suddenly walked by. The clothes of these palace maids were very different, especially their figures, all of them were curvy and beautiful. Wait, I seem to have seen this group of people somewhere. After a while, Tianxing searched for the image of this group of palace maids in her mind. It was when Xiaoyao went to Ming to recognize Nian'an and bathe together, this group of palace maids were waiting outside. Thinking of this, Tianxing couldn't help but recall that Nian'an seemed to like herself when she was a palace maid at the time. And wanted herself. A light flashed in her mind. Just say that there is news about Xiaoyao, who he wanted to find at the time. After hearing Tianxing's words, the Dragon Guard was confused. What Xiaoyao? But seeing the other party's serious look, he couldn't help but hesitate. General, please help me. Seeing the other party's tangled look, Tianxing decisively took out a bag of gold soul coins from her arms. 10 minutes later, the Dragon Guard came to Nian'an with the message that Tianxing wanted to convey and the gold soul coins. Your Majesty, this is what happened. Nian'an glanced at the purse on the table. The money is a reward for you. Bring the person in. After saying that, Nian'an's mouth curled up a smile. Xiaoyao. Is she selling her own news? Nian'an couldn't help but get interested, and wanted to see what she was up to. She should be panicking now, right? Thinking of the 2 people captured by the Holy Spirit Church last night, Nian'an couldn't help but raise the corners of his mouth. 10 minutes later, Tianxing, oh no, now she should be called Xiaoyao, was brought in. I don't know, His Highness, the great Prince of Tianxing, what's the matter with you coming to me so early in the morning? After hearing Zhu Nian'an's words and his cold and deliberately distant eyes, Tianxing Kingdom's heart skipped a beat. Sure enough, an accident happened. You know, when the two of them were close, they always called each other cousins, and sometimes they would call each other cousins. Now it's different. He directly called each other by the name of the enemy country. It is conceivable that Zhu Nian'an really wanted to distance himself from her and cut off the relationship. This made Tianxing Kingdom panic. No. He was not like this before. If it were before, Zhu Nian'an wanted to separate the relationship with her, Tianxing Kingdom would be more than happy. Because in this way, she could avoid the risk of being exposed. But it's not possible now. Zhu Nian'an seemed to know something. Moreover, the thorny porpoise and snake-speared lure that she sent to assassinate Zhu Nian'an last night have not returned yet. If they are caught and reveal something about me, then I am the spirit hole behind me will be in trouble. Hehe, why is my cousin so distant? After all, we're related by blood, right? Zhu Nian'an did not respond to Tianxing Kingdom's words, but looked at the documents in his hand without raising his head. Feeling Zhu Nian'an's indifference, Tianxing Kingdom's body gradually became cold. But she couldn't lose face, so she could only grit her teeth and take it herself. I don't know if my cousin slept well last night. I came here today to ask about it. By the way, I have got the latest news about the maid Xiaoyao you liked at the beginning. Before the other party finished speaking, Zhu Nian'an looked up coldly. Did I sleep well last night? Don't you know best? Tianxing Kingdom's body stiffened when she heard it. Zhu Nian'an ignored her and continued to talk to herself. Last night, my Holy Spirit Church, the Ming Dynasty's protector of the nation, caught 2 rats who wanted to assassinate me, and used a special secret method to get some small things from their brains. Tianxing Kingdom was not only in pain, but also the smile on her face froze. Zhu Nian'an stood up on his own. Slowly came to her side. In fact, I don't care about the Tianzhou Empire, let alone who will lead the Tianzhou imperial family in the future. Zhu Nian'an's voice seemed to have some kind of magic, slowly entering Tianxing Kingdom's ears. At some point, the entire imperial camp had been empty, leaving only the two of them. But Tianxing Kingdom could clearly sense that countless eyes were falling on her. My cousin and I are as close as brothers. I just want to ask, you don't have to answer. Where did my cousin go? Swish. Tianxing Kingdom's face changed wildly, and in the end she couldn't hold it anymore and raised her hand violently. Are you sure you want to do this? If you do this, then everything you've worked hard for will vanish into thin air. I still say the same thing. I don't care about the Tianzhou Empire, and I don't care who will be in charge of the Tianzhou Empire in the future. Zhu Nian'an had one more thing left to say, which was that no matter what, the future continent would belong to him. The hand facing Zhu Nian'an was finally slowly placed on his face by Tianxing Kingdom. Swish. A head of golden hair fell, and a beautiful face slowly appeared. That's right. Zhu Nian'an stretched out his hand and pinched the other's chin. Looking at the other's face, Zhu Nian'an suddenly felt an unprecedented impulse in his heart. I will help you get to the position you want. In front of the world, you are still the eldest prince of Tianzhou, or even the crown prince, the heir, and the emperor of Tianzhou. In front of me, you should be a good Xiaoyao. I'm very angry now. Hold it. After feeling the amazing touch brought by the perfect pair of jade feet, Zhu Nian'an stretched out his hand again, held the golden hair, and slowly pressed it down. Tianxing Kingdom's whole body was red. This was not out of shyness but anger. This was her own shame. She wanted to resist, but suddenly found that under such a strong pressure, she couldn't even mobilize her soul power. She knew what this meant. She could only obey and keep her bottom line. Zhu Nian'an never touched that line. Tianxing Kingdom had experienced a shame she had never experienced since she was born. She wanted to resist, but she was afraid of Zhu Nian'an. She hated and feared the man in front of her who was younger than her. Compared with what she had lost, her mission was more important. Compared with the humiliation she had suffered physically, she didn't want to let that woman know that she had failed and looked down on her. She couldn't lose, let alone fail. Zhu Nian'an, everything I endured today, one day I will make you pay it back 100-fold, and trample you hard under my feet. Zhu Nian'an was not in a hurry to finish it all. After all, if things went wrong, the other side might perish together, so she just tasted it. At noon, Tianxing Kingdom restored her appearance as Yu King Hez, and left the Ming army stationed with the 2 seriously injured titles. Young master, how did you let him let us go? Before thorny porpoise Luo finished speaking, Tianxing Kingdom scolded with an ugly face. Shut up. Feeling her numb legs and swollen lips, Xiaoyao was furious. Nian'an was refreshed and set off on the road to negotiate again. Chapter 44. Tianzhou National Treasure, the vast sea of heaven and earth. Chapter 44. Tianzhou National Treasure, the vast sea and universe cover. July 25, 2625 of the Douluo calendar. The Tianzhou Empire has ushered in the darkest and most turbulent moment in its history of thousands of years. Seizing land and paying compensation, selling out the country for peace, the sky of Tianzhou City was blocked by dark clouds, and the light seemed to be covered by a big hand. And the owner of this hand was only 6 years old. Sign it. Two faint words fell, and Nian'an turned his head indifferently. In the Tianzhou Palace, a group of soldiers in golden armor stood, and outside the Tianzhou Palace, there were layers of soldiers in silver armor and white robes. They had no expression on their faces, and their whole bodies were full of murderous aura. Looking at the defeated treaty in his hand, the body of Emperor Xiaoyao of the Tianzhou Empire trembled. The 2 billion gold soul coin debt was shining. In addition, the colonies, kingdoms, outside the empire must be abandoned. As well as ceding territory and paying compensation, starting from the Jinling Mountains, which is the famous Jialing part of the Tianzhou Empire, all the way north to the Yingzhen Mountains in the far north, which includes all the East China Sea borders of the Tianzhou Empire, including a large city, Xiling City. It stretches for hundreds of miles, almost directly taking 1/3 of the territory of the Tianzhou Empire. Of course, this is not over yet, because this is the other party's defeat treaty. The most important thing is that Nian'an asked Tianzhou to directly cede the Bara Kingdom on the grounds that the Bara Kingdom and Tianzhou formed a joint army to invade the border of the Ming Dynasty, causing the Ming Dynasty to suffer huge losses. In addition to these major events, there are also various restrictive treaties, with more than 100 items in detail. Your Majesty the Emperor of the Ming Dynasty, we are willing to sign a defeat treaty because we have indeed lost. We are willing to sign the same defeat treaty as the Xingluo Empire, but you, after hesitating for a long time, Emperor Xiaoyao finally did not write it down, because the gap was too big. If this really happened, the Tianzhou Empire would not know how many generations it would take to slow down. The gap is too big. Nian'an spoke contemptuously when he heard it. Before the other party responded, Nian'an frowned and immediately shouted loudly. Xingluo battlefield has its own price, and Tianzhou battlefield has its own price. I will tell you now why your Tianzhou battlefield is so much more expensive than Xingluo battlefield. First, the first initiator of this war was your Tianzhou Empire. After the first defeat, it was you who joined Xingluo to invade my Ming Dynasty. Second, the Gilai City battle caused my dragon guards to lose 100,000. This was the biggest loss since the establishment of my Ming Dynasty. This is why that Tianzhou battlefield is so expensive. At some point, Nian'an's fists were clenched together. The 100,000 dragon guards lost in the Gilai City battle were the pain of Nian'an's life since he traveled through time and space, like a thorn in his eyes. Nian'an now wants to let them know that starting a war requires a price. And this price may have to be repaid by countless generations of their descendants. Swish. After hearing Nian'an's words, a civil servant ran out of the Tianzhou Palace with red eyes. You're talking nonsense. There are no immortals on the battlefield. Your Ming Empire's 100,000 dragon guards are human beings, but my Tianzhou's million-strong army are not. How about my Tianzhou's million-strong army? Swish. Before the other party finished speaking, Nian'an turned his head coldly and interrupted him. What does it have to do with me? In my eyes, they are not human beings. They are not as good as my dragon guards. After hearing Nian'an's words, all the dragon guards in the hall felt warm in their hearts. In fact, there is no difference between people. Everyone has a head, 2 hands, 2 feet and a kun. The only difference between the Tianzhou Empire and the Ming Empire is the Ming Empire won. Nian'an, the Emperor, protects his children and is willing to stand up for them. Take him down. The leader of the dragon guard narrowed his eyes. With a wave of his hand, dozens of people rushed up and pinned the Tianzhou civil servant to the ground. Your Majesty, the person who challenged the Emperor's power has been captured. Please punish him. Nian'an hated being interrupted when he was speaking, and he was interrupted by the person who accused him. What is my identity? What is the identity of the other party? What is my status? What is the status of the other party? Are they worthy? Chop him off. Choke Puchi. The moment Nian'an's voice just fell, the leader of the dragon guard raised his sword and fell. Soon, a corpse that was constantly trembling appeared in the hall. Emperor Zhu Yi's face turned pale. It was not clear whether Zhu Nian'an did this on purpose. Was he deliberately killing a chicken to scare the monkey, deliberately for him to see? Thinking of this, Emperor Zhu Yi's hand holding the pen began to tremble. Finally, he gritted his teeth. This battle of the Tiando Empire emptied all the savings of 100 years. In particular, millions of Tiando's elite soldiers were buried on the border, and a large number of young men were lost. Thinking of the vast territory of the Tiando Empire, if there were no people, it would be in vain. Finally, under the expectant eyes of the officials in the audience, Emperor Zhu Yi gritted his teeth and began to write. I don't have that much money for the time being, Zhu Nian'an waved his hand. It doesn't matter, you can pay in installments, the interest is the same as Luo. The annual repayment must not be less than 10 million, and the interest is 50 million every 10 years. At this point, Zhu Nian'an's eyes flashed, as if he thought of something, and said it intentionally or unintentionally. Of course, if there is something special and worth collecting, you can also use it to pay off the debt. For example, in your Tiando Empire, there is a national treasure. I heard it was called something. Yes, it seems to be called Hanhai. Zhu Nian'an did not finish his words, and stopped at that. Zhu Yi, who was very knowledgeable, immediately took over the topic. Hanhai Kaian Xiao. Hearing this, Zhu Nian'an nodded. I'm willing to bid 100 million gold soul coins for collection. 10 minutes later, a triangular object emitting blue light was delivered. After receiving it, Zhu Nian'an looked at it expressionlessly for a while, then nodded and put it into the storage ring. The discount will be deducted from the debt. Want to get the money yourself? How is that possible? Zhu Nian'an wanted to get something for nothing. Emperor Zhu Yi breathed a sigh of relief after hearing what Zhu Nian'an said. It's worth 100 million, fortunately it has value. Even if it's worth 1 million, Zhu Yi would sell it. Are you kidding? People are asking with good intentions. With the current situation of Tiando, others don't ask and just give it away for free. What can Zhu Yi say? What dare he say? Swish swish swish. Emperor Zhu Yi slowly signed his name on the defeat treaty. From this moment on, the defeat treaty came into effect. At the same time, a cold system prompt sound instantly rang in Zhu Nian'an's mind. Ding! Congratulations to the host for completing the main task, the first empire on the continent. With the signing of the defeat treaty between the old Luo Empire and the Tiando Empire on the continent, it means that the Ming Empire has become the final winner. Become the most powerful empire in the history of Douluo continent. And then there is the completion of the main task of the system. Your Majesty, Emperor Ming, do you have anything else that you like in Tiando? How about we trade it together? If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novel, as there you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 45. The title cannot be insulted. Chapter 45. Title, cannot be insulted. After the Tiando Empire signed that treaty of defeat, Zhu Nian'an did not return to his own Ming Empire immediately. He did not hold a celebration banquet, but stayed in the Tiando Empire for a while. The main thing is that it was not that Zhu Nian'an wanted to stay here, but that Emperor Zhu Yi found that the treasures in his Tiando treasury could be used to discount the compensation for the defeat, so he had a little idea. In the next few days, he ordered people to take Zhu Nian'an to select various treasures for discount. It was just that at night, his queen was sent to his room to calculate the difference. From this, we can see the foundation of being the richest empire on the continent. The compensation of the Tiando Empire is 2 billion. On the first day of signing the treaty, the national treasure Hanhai Kaian Xiao was discounted by 100 million, 200 million in cash, and 300 million in bills. On the second day of signing the treaty, a large number of various treasures, armor, swords, silk fabrics, 200 million. After that, there were various things, such as an auction house, a fighting soul field, original shares, and bonds of Tiando Bank, etc. Tiando Imperial Court Etiquette Academy. It was equivalent to an indirect joint venture with the Tiando Empire. In the end, he actually set his sights on the princess in his harem who had just been born not long ago. He wanted to have a marriage with Zhu Nian'an. So, in the end, the Tiando Empire actually paid a total of 800 million. It still owed. This has emptied the entire Tiando Empire, and there is really nothing to sell. Someone in the court actually proposed to sell the Fazno province next to the Barak Kingdom, where Xiaoyao and Tianxing currently live. Of course, Zhu Yi refused. 5 days later, that is, the first day of August, Nian'an was going to return to the Ming Empire to hold a celebration banquet, the kind that the whole country rejoiced. After all, it would be necessary to divide troops to guard the Barak Kingdom. At the moment when Zhu Yi signed that treaty of defeat, the kingdom of Barak also belonged to the territory of the Ming Empire. Nian'an did not choose the kingdom of Barak because of the plot. The kingdom of Barak is the border between the western Tianzhou and the Xingluo Empire. Nian'an occupied the exits of the east and west. If the war is started again in the future, he can quickly surround a certain empire and implement a blitzkrieg. This is just one of the reasons. Another reason is that only the kingdom of Barak is a kingdom directly under the jurisdiction of the Tianzhou Empire. After all, the kings are all Zhu Yi's younger brothers. Your Majesty, Nian'an of the Seven Treasures Glazed Sect wants to see you. Just when Nian'an was about to return to the Ming dynasty, the Dragon Guard came to report that someone wanted to see him. After hearing what the visitor said, Nian'an raised his eyebrows. Nian'an? It seems that he has no intersection with him. No, it seems that there is. When he fell out in the Tianzhou Palace, it seemed that two people wanted to stop him from leaving. Unexpectedly, he was shocked by Long Xiaoyao's pressure and knelt firmly in front of him. But, why did he come to him? Nian'an knew that the relationship between the Seven Treasures Glazed Sect and the Heavenly Dou Empire was unusual. It was equivalent to the relationship between the Sun Moon Empire and the Holy Spirit Church in later generations. The Seven Treasures Glazed Sect was a strong supporter of the Heavenly Dou Empire. Let him in. Nian'an couldn't figure it out, so he simply stopped thinking about it. After a while, a gentle young man, a pregnant young woman, and an old man with a trace of white hair on his forehead walked in. The hall was empty except for Nian'an. A huge dragon chair was placed on a high platform. Nian'an crossed his legs and looked down at the three people. Nian'an of the Seven Treasures Glazed Sect, greets His Majesty the Emperor of the Ming Dynasty. Nian'an took the lead, the pregnant young woman saluted slightly, and the white-haired old man nodded slightly, and the salute ended. Da. Nian'an said nothing, just staring at the three people quietly. As the master of the empire, and the only one who has defeated two empires, he can be said to be the strongest empire master on the Douluo continent. Nian'an's identity surpassed the princes, the king, and the emperor. Now, he is the most honorable and truly powerful person in the entire continent. As long as Nian'an is willing, the direction of the sword is the territory of the Ming dynasty. With Nian'an's honor, even the leader of one of the top three sects would have to bow his head. With Nian'an's honor, even a titled Douluo would have to bow his head. In the past few days, Nian'an of the Seven Treasures Glazed Sect has seen clearly the situation of the Tianzhou Empire and even Tianzhou City. I thought that the Tianzhou Empire would be destroyed because of this, but the Seven Treasures Glazed Sect never thought that the Ming dynasty did not destroy Tianzhou and annex it, but made Tianzhou sign a defeat treaty. Therefore, not long after the Tianzhou Empire announced the defeat treaty, Nian'an came to visit Nian'an. Nian'an is a businessman and the leader of a sect. He has seen the future direction of the continent. Now he comes to Nian'an just to ask if there is any opportunity for cooperation. That's it. Nian'an's cold voice rang out. Although Nian'an, his bodyguards, and even his woman gave Nian'an enough face, Nian'an thought it was not enough. How come you knelt down to greet me last time, but you don't kneel this time? Nian'an was confused after hearing Nian'an's words. Nian'an glanced at him. There is a pregnant woman with a big belly at the scene who bows to me. I understand that it is not convenient to kneel down. But, you two have healthy hands and feet, and there is nothing wrong with your body. What do you mean by bowing to me? Are you despising me? Not to mention that kneeling is not popular in Douluo continent. During the all-continent senior elite soul master competition, the Pope of the Spirit Hall Bai Dong asked all soul masters to kneel down, and only Tianxing and his group of idiots did not kneel down to provoke. It's almost the same as Nian'an and the others now. Nian'an's smile froze after hearing Nian'an's words. Cold sweat broke out. Crack. At this moment, a sound of bones rubbing against each other rang out. Looking down, Nian'an saw the white-haired old man beside him clenching his fists tightly. Uncle Jian. He immediately stretched out his hand to stop him, and looked up at the leisurely young man. Nian'an was already sweating profusely. If he could beat others, Nian'an would not be willing to be so humble. He was also willing to be tough. But this man not only had a weapon in his hands, but also a title that he could not afford to offend. The title cannot be insulted. But as soon as the voice fell, the old man with a strand of white hair on his forehead suddenly flew out of his body. Yellow, purple, blab, 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 2 yellow, 2 purple, 5 blab, 9 soul rings appeared. Seeing the long sword in the other party's hand and the 9 soul rings under his feet, Nian'an knew the other party's identity. Sword Luo. But what about Sword Luo? Nian'an stretched out his index finger and slowly pointed at him, then suddenly down. Kneel down. Bang. Fengzi was suddenly forced to his knees by the powerful pressure. An old man in black clothes, with silver hair and meticulous manners, slowly appeared behind Nian'an. Chapter 46. 99 Level Peerless Luo. Chapter 46. Level 99 Peerless Luo. Long Xiaoyao had no expression on his face, but he just stretched out his hand indifferently behind Nian'an, and immediately released a powerful pressure directly to Fengzi and Jian Luo beside Fengzi. Fengzi, a soul scent of more than 70 levels, naturally could not withstand Long Xiaoyao's pressure, and the moment Long Xiaoyao released the pressure, he knelt on the ground. It was exactly the same as last time. Fengzi. This feeling, Jian Luo Qingxin suddenly whitened his eyes after sensing Long Xiaoyao's breath. A long-lost memory suddenly emerged in his mind. It was the scene of his father challenging the then Pope of the Spirit Hall, Kai'an Liu, but was defeated miserably. At the time, he was deeply impressed by the breath. After many years, he broke through the title and felt this breath again. Jian Luo suddenly felt a sense of powerlessness. I want you to kneel down. The moment Nian'an finished speaking, Long Xiaoyao's pupils narrowed. An unprecedented invincible pressure suddenly emerged from his body, and the earth was shaking. Crack! A series of cracking sounds suddenly came from the scene. Looking carefully, the ground under Jian Luo's feet was shattered like a spider web. Puff! The next moment, Jian Luo spit out a mouthful of blood from his heart, his face turned pale, his soul ring and martial spirit were suddenly retracted into his body, his knees softened and he knelt down directly. Swish! Fengzi suddenly turned sideways and looked at Jian Luo with wide eyes. You know, Jian Luo has a higher soul power than Bone Luo, but he didn't expect that Jian Luo, whose soul power is higher than Bone Luo, still couldn't withstand the pressure of the person who came. Fengzi didn't dare to imagine how high this person's soul power is. Jian Luo's lips trembled twice, and he said a sentence with difficulty. Surpassing the level 95 Super Luo, the level 99 Peerless Luo. Tianxing of the 7 Treasure-Glazed Tile Sect, I greet the senior. I greet His Majesty the Emperor of the Min Dynasty. Fengzi of the 7 Treasure-Glazed Tile Sect, I greet His Majesty the Emperor of the Min Dynasty, Peerless Senior. The moment Fengzi and Jian Luo said this, they suddenly felt their bodies lighten. When they looked up again, the tall old man in black behind Nian'an had already disappeared. Only Nian'an was left sitting quietly on the dragon chair and staring at him. In fact, Nian'an didn't have to ask them to kneel. Doing so was just to show their status. In the future, at the All-Continental High-Level Soul Master Competition, all Soul Masters will kneel to the Pope of the Spirit Hall. However, for that common princes, kings, and emperors, they will not have this kind of awe in their hearts. This feeling is like the contempt of the ancient immortal cultivators for the common human emperor. And now, Nian'an is going to set a rule. He, Nian'an, has a status that surpasses princes, kings, and even emperors and popes, and is collectively called the human emperor. As long as you were a person, and your strength is not as good as his, you'd better give me a good salute, and don't wait until the Min cavalry steps on your face before you start begging for mercy. All the forces in Douluo continent, the Spirit Master's Spirit Hall, the upper 3 sects, and the lower 4 sects, so what? Nian'an's Min Empire has fought the 2 empires and made the 2 empires surrender. Who are they? The reason why Nian'an did this is because he not only wants to rule the world of ordinary people, but also the world of spirit masters. After all, Nian'an will start the awakening of the spirits of all the people in the Min dynasty in the future. Stand up. After glancing at the 2 people kneeling on the ground again, Nian'an responded expressionlessly. Fengzi. After hearing Nian'an's words, the beautiful young woman next to Fengzi hurriedly helped the other party up. It's okay. Fengzi stood up and took a while. When he looked at the boy on the dragon chair again, there was a little more fear in his eyes. At this time, Nian'an had just taken over the Seven Treasures Glazed sect not long ago, and he was not like the old fox Nian'an who knew how to endure and remain calm in the face of changes. Your Majesty, I was rude to you before. Please forgive me. This time, the Seven Treasures Glazed sect came with absolute sincerity. I heard that the reason why the Min army was invincible on the battlefield of Xingluo and Tiando was that it had a special weapon that surpassed the power of artillery, had a large coverage area, and was also quite powerful. The Seven Treasures Glazed sect needs this weapon to protect the sect. I wonder if Your Majesty, the Emperor of the Min dynasty, can cede a few of them to our Seven Treasures Glazed sect. Fearing that there would be another accident, Nian'an decisively stated the purpose of his visit to Nian'an this time. You mean, this? After speaking, Nian'an's storage ring on his right hand flashed, and a small cannon appeared in front of him. Nian'an slapped the barrel of the cannon with a slab. With the injection of soul power, a beam of light gathered in a moment, and the next moment it instantly shot towards Nian'an. Bang! When the soul guide cannon was about to hit Nian'an, Jianluo took action. The other party waved his hand casually, and a flash of sword light passed by. The next moment, the soul-guided cannonballs condensed by soul power exploded instantly, and soul power fluctuations emerged. This is, only a little soul power is needed to exert the full force of a level 40 soul master. Nian'an was shocked. Then he looked at Nian'an again. I wonder if His Majesty the Emperor of the Great Min Dynasty has any weapons that even ordinary people can use. My Seven Treasures Glazed Tile sect is willing to buy a large number of them. Hearing this, Nian'an smiled and shook his head. Don't you have such weapons? What a joke, how could there be no weapons? In the past, Arkansas was so tough and durable. But why did Nian'an sell something that is easy to copy? If you want to sell it, you have to sell something that others can't copy, such as a soul guide. There are many processes in a soul guide, and at present, soul guides can be regarded as ancient magic tools. There is no force in Douluo continent that can copy soul guides. Isn't this a good time for me to monopolize it? Weapons that ordinary people can use. The future world belongs to soul guides, soul masters, and soul guides. Nian'an said something that Nian'an couldn't understand. Although he didn't understand the words, he also understood one thing, that there were no weapons that ordinary people could use, or they were not for sale. Nian'an frowned and could only lower his requirements. Then I wonder, Your Majesty, the Emperor of the Min Dynasty, how much is this weapon? Can any soul master use it? Hearing this, Nian'an nodded. How much is it? That depends on what level you buy. The higher the level, the stronger the attack power, and of course the more expensive it is. At this point, Nian'an clapped his hands. Suddenly, a dragon guard slowly walked out. Take him to the Soul Guide Court to see the power of soul guides. After that, Nian'an was led out of the hall in a daze. As soon as he left the hall, they saw a group of black-robed people. Seeing this group of black-robed people, Jianluo's pupils shrank. Especially the black-haired and black-dressed woman who was leading the group, her heart was beating wildly. Such a strong aura of death. How many people must have been killed by such a strong murderous aura? Chapter 47 Military Parade. Chapter 47 Military Review. As Nian'an and others watched with their own eyes, a mountain was easily destroyed by a seven-ring soul master, and their worldviews were shattered. The appearance of the soul guide cannon overturned their worldviews. The attack power of the soul guide cannon is indeed higher than the lethality displayed by many soul masters of the same level. Moreover, Nian'an heard with his own ears that there are still 49 soul masters who can do this in the soul master army. This made Nian'an feel a chill. What kind of monster did the Xingluo Empire and the Tiando Empire provoke? Nian'an couldn't help but think of a rumor on the Xingluo battlefield. It is rumored that the Great God Lake defense line on the Xingluo battlefield had nearly 700,000 troops the day before the Xingluo Empire was defeated. But after a strong explosion and a flash of white light, the Great God Lake defense line seemed to have angered the heavenly punishment. A lake of more than 10 kilometers in the Great God Lake dried up, the entire defense line was wiped out, and the 700,000 troops of the Xingluo Empire disappeared, and a huge pit appeared at the scene. Rumor has it that the place is cursed, and anyone who goes there will suddenly die within 3 days. Their bodies will fester and decay, and their bones will still glow after death. Thinking of the battle, the Min army seemed to have anticipated it, withdrawing, counter-attacking, and sieging Xingluo city to maximize the benefits. In addition, after seeing the 7th level soul master easily destroy a hill, Nian'an understood. This is not a punishment from heaven, it is clearly some kind of terrifying weapon released by the Ming Empire. Thinking of the 700,000 people on the defense line at the Great God Lake, Nian'an shuddered. Not long after, Nian'an returned to the hall with a nervous mood. Your Majesty, the Emperor of the Ming Dynasty, this trip to the Tianxing military camp has allowed me to see a lot of things. The future development of the continent must be in the Ming Empire. If possible, please cooperate with my Seven Treasures Glazed Sect. This is the military equipment that my Seven Treasures Glazed Sect wants to buy from the Ming Dynasty this time. Hearing this, Nian'an glanced at the purchase order of the Seven Treasures Glazed Sect. 20 for level 7 soul guides, 40 for level 6 soul guides, and 100 for level 5 soul guides. Nian'an did not hesitate at all and directly crossed out the level 7 soul guides. What a joke, this is the level 7 soul guide currently in service in the soul guide core, how can it be exported? Level 6 soul guides are okay, the power is still within the controllable range, not too outrageous, but the soul guide core needs to be notified to castrate them internally, and the number will be halved. Level 6 soul guides are 1 million each, level 5 is 400,000, level 4 is 50,000, Nian'an waved his butcher knife. He dared to sell a level 6 soul guide for 1 million. You should know that 1 million in the future market can directly buy an 8-level close body soul guide. This is the benefit of monopoly. Soul guides are not available elsewhere, so you can only buy them here. If you don't buy them, you will fall behind and wait to be beaten. This reminded Nian'an of a funny thing in his heart. My neighbor hoards grain and I hoard guns. My neighbor is my granary. Sure enough, only arms are the most valuable. Looking at Nian'an's offer, Nian'an was shocked even though he had been prepared. He had no choice but to adjust the plan. In the end, he bought more than 10 million soul guides and a large number of storage soul guides. Your Majesty, the Emperor of the Ming Dynasty, in addition to buying military equipment from you this time, I also came to apologize to you for what happened last time. At this point, Nian'an's storage ring on his right hand flashed, and a jade box appeared in his hand. Nian'an came to Nian'an and opened it. In an instant, a burst of colorful light shone. In the jade box, a ring and a sun and moon jade pendant lay quietly. This is specially made by my 7 Treasures Glazed Tile Sect, a 7-color dragon pattern ring and a 7-color sun and moon pendant. Hearing this, Nian'an nodded. Don't miss free things. Back off, lonely. On the way back to the 7 Treasures Glazed Tile Sect. Fengzi, the Ming Dynasty obviously doesn't like us, why should we go to the cold bud? After hearing the words of the beautiful young woman next to him, Nian'an's face turned cold. Women's opinions. After hearing Nian'an's words, the young woman lowered her eyebrows. Uncle Jian, are you sure that it is really the legendary peerless Luo? Next to him, Jian Luo Tianxing, who had kept his eyes closed since getting on the carriage, suddenly opened his eyes. This feeling is correct, and, as rumored, there is a high-level spirit master force in the Ming Empire, and there is more than one titled Luo among them. And there is a high possibility that there are super Luos above, level 95. When the 2 saints of the Holy Spirit Church were summoned, they were both at the level of super Luo 95. Obviously, they have been strengthened. The Ming Empire is strong and powerful, and it defeated the 2 old empires of Xingluo and Tianzhou. Even without soul guides, relying solely on the 99th level peerless Luo, it is a force that 99% of the continent dare not provoke. Not to mention that the other party has a soul guide, a rare weapon in the world. In the future, the Ming Empire will definitely be the center of the continent's development. If the 7 Treasures Glazed Tile Sect does not take advantage of the opportunity now, will there be another chance in the future? At this point, Nian'an's eyes flashed with a different light. The Ming Empire is a dragon, and my 7 Treasures Glazed Tile Sect must catch it. On July 7, 2625 of the Douluo calendar, Nian'an led the great snow dragon riders and 100,000 dragon guards to move back to the court. The whole country celebrated immediately. The territory of the Ming Empire has been unprecedentedly strengthened. From south to north, from north to south, all the way is the territory of the Ming Empire. After returning to the Ming Dynasty, Nian'an began drastic reforms. There was no time before, but now is the time to act. 10 days later, the first Ming exam was held. On that day, 300 people were selected from the 3 million residents of Ming City and sent out of Ming to serve in areas outside Ming City. Of course, they were directly airdropped to the city lord, county magistrate, mayor, and high-ranking officials. The purpose was to consolidate the imperial power of Ming Dynasty for the new territory. Nian'an dispersed 50,000 of the 100,000 dragon guards to form the Northern Pacification Division in various places. The place can be small and the people can be few, but the emperor's eyes and ears cannot be absent. Ming City was taken over by the West Factory in the Ming Palace. Nian'an stopped recruiting soldiers because he decided to recruit again later because of the awakening of the martial spirit of the whole people. After more than 10 days, after half a month of preparation, the first military parade of the Ming Empire began. This was prepared by Nian'an in order to defeat the two empires and to demonstrate the strength of the Ming Empire. Many kingdoms and people from the two empires were also invited to come that day. Since Nian'an had just defeated the two empires not long ago, almost all the invited people came. Of course, there are also uninvited guests, such as the Spirit Hall, the Seven Treasures Glazed Sect. I rose from the crisis of the Ming Dynasty and founded the country in a hurry. During this period, many people had unpleasant things with me. But, they all paid the price they deserved for this. Off the court, the envoys of the Tianxing Empire and the Luo Empire felt the gazes from all around, and their faces were burning with pain. Just when Nian'an wanted to say something, the old eunuch Xiaoyao hurried forward. Your Majesty, the gifts from the envoys of other countries have been counted. Hearing this, Nian'an's mouth curled up a smile. Next, it was time for the Ming Dynasty to truly reform. Nian'an would set up many departments, and it was also that time to distance himself from other countries in one fell swoop. Nian. After speaking, Nian'an turned around and didn't rush to give a passionate speech. Chapter 48 The Spirit Hall Shock. Chapter 48 The Shock of the Spirit Hall. Ming Square's Xiaoyao's slightly sharp and feminine voice began to resound, and then after being processed by a special soul guide, the sound spread throughout the Mingqing, the capital of Ming. The Western United Nations, Hardwin Days, Sylvester, Hadrian, presents an item worth 10 million gold soul coins to congratulate Ming for quelling the turmoil in the empire and sweeping across the four barbarians. 10 million? Nian'an raised his eyebrows, and then looked at the three middle-aged men outside the Mingqing Square. These are the three kings of the main Western United Nations. After knowing that the Western United Nations was established on the basis of the prosperity of the Ming Dynasty, the three kings were very sensible and chose to be present in person on such an important day of the Ming Dynasty. Squeaky. At this moment, the sky above Ming Square flickered, and soon, a holographic projection appeared. The three middle-aged men were obviously stunned, and after reacting, they smiled kindly without making a sound. We strongly support His Majesty the Emperor of the Ming Dynasty and hope that the Ming Dynasty will develop better and better. The holographic projection on the Ming Square is very large. Almost everyone in the entire Ming city can see it if they look up. The Kingdom of Pelage pays tribute of 10 million gold soul coins, hoping to wash away all the previous grievances with the Ming Empire and conclude an alliance. Previously, Western Alliance and the United Nations gave away items worth 10 million gold soul coins, and perhaps many of them were overvalued. However, the Kingdom of Pelage is different. This is a real 10 million gold soul coins. Xiaoyao's lines are also quite interesting. Under what circumstances does a country need to pay tribute to other countries? Isn't it just to make friends, or to fear a country that has already surrendered to another country? Unfortunately, the Kingdom of Pelage used to belong to the Luo Empire camp. You know, before the Ming Empire and the Luo Empire went to war, Nian'an openly went to war with many countries on the mainland. That year, Nian'an pointed at the world with high spirits and recited the names of countries one by one. It was thought that the Ming Empire would pay a heavy price for this, or even be destroyed. But no one expected that under the joint encirclement of the two empires, the Ming Empire not only survived. Not only did it survive, it also directly surrounded the capitals of the two empires, causing them to lose their countries and sign a humiliating treaty of defeat. Therefore, the Kingdom of Pelage is not paying tribute, but paying protection fees. On this continent where the two empires have surrendered, the Ming Empire is undoubtedly the first superpower. With the precedent of the two empires, does anyone dare not pay protection fees? Don't say it, there really is. The Kingdom of Heavenly Realm is sending supplies worth tens of millions of gold soul coins, hoping that the people of the Ming Dynasty can quickly recover from the war of aggression. The Empress of Heavenly Realm expresses peace condolences to the people of the entire Ming Dynasty. The Kingdom of Heavenly Realm was elected by Nian'an using means. Its predecessor was a super province in the Luo Empire with more than 1 million residents. Now, it is controlled by the Empress dressed by Ma Xiaoyao. A country that yearns for freedom and peace. The Douluo Principality donated 5 million gold soul coins to the border of the Ming Dynasty for free. It's quite funny to say. There is another country called Douluo in the west of the Xingluo Empire. Because of its small land area and small population, it was designated as a principality. This time, the Ming dynasty sent invitations to all countries on the continent for the military parade, and people from all countries came. Even after Emperor Xiaoyao signed that defeat treaty, the ceded Barak Kingdom also sent representatives. The Xingluo Empire donated millions of support materials, the Tianxing Empire donated millions of supplies. Xu Fu opened his mouth and almost read the names of the countries that still existed on the entire continent, but he missed two. The Barak Kingdom and the Tianxing Kingdom. Of these two kingdoms, the Barak Kingdom was ceded to the Ming Empire because of the defeat treaty signed by the Tianxing Empire Emperor Xiaoyao. Nian'an could understand not paying money and not supporting materials. After all, the people will live there for generations and the country will be their own in the future, so it is understandable that they don't pay money. But what Nian'an didn't understand was how a kingdom that was still on the list of its enemies dared not to pay and yet dared to participate in the military parade of the Ming dynasty with a clear conscience. Is this military parade of the Ming dynasty a military parade? Isn't this a blatant robbery under the banner of a military parade? Why do you think those countries are rushing to pay? Isn't it to wash off the hat of the enemy of the Ming Empire? Ahem, seeing Xu Fu on the stage looking at the representative of the Kingdom of Tianxing with hesitation. The representative of the Kingdom of Tianxing was stunned, and then slowly stood up. Everyone, my Kingdom of Tianxing has just become independent and is still developing. If there is anything that is not thoughtful, please forgive me. Also, because before the Warring States period, my Kingdom of Tianxing was the center of the Western battlefield. So, the economy is not developed, and there are still many people who are displaced and can't eat. If we can get some resources, then, squeak. The holographic projection above the Ming Square disappeared instantly. Good fellow, you came to participate in the military parade of the Ming dynasty without paying, and you dared to beg for sponsorship. Nian'an walked up with a dark face. Indeed, Nian'an's purpose of holding this military parade was indeed impure, but this was also Nian'an giving them face. Giving them this way to pay money, otherwise, it would not be a military parade, but the Ming dynasty's own cavalry stepped on their faces. Nian'an never thought that there was really something wrong. Okay, next we thank the Seven Treasures Glazed Tile Sect and the Spirit Hall for their friendly sponsorship of 1 million. That's right, Nian'an not only didn't spend a penny to hold this military parade, but made a lot of money. In places that can't be seen, there is also support from the Seven Treasures Glazed Tile Sect and the Spirit Hall. At the same time, this is the first time that Nian'an has come into direct contact with people from the Spirit Hall. Next, the military parade begins. Dear audience friends, please look at your right rear. Swish. Hiss hiss hiss. Suddenly, the neighing of horses resounded through the sky. A large group of cavalry suddenly appeared in the right rear of the empty Ming Square. These cavalrymen were wearing silver armor and white robes, with a dark yellow soul ring floating on their bodies. Looking closely, there was a shadow holding a spear and carrying a bow and arrow behind them. It was the spirit and the soul ring. Swish. Next to the private room of the two empires' envoys, the flag of the Spirit Hall was swaying slightly, but the people in the room were panicked. This is, the spirit, the cavalry, they actually have soul power and have become soul masters. An elder of the Spirit Hall widened his eyes instantly. You have to know that this cavalry team has nearly 100 people. With so many people, the spirits are basically the same. How could their Spirit Hall not have records? Kill. Before they could react. Suddenly, a deafening sound rang out, and golden light shone. After a while, a group of Drachnarman swordsmen slowly walked over. Looking closely, there were only 100 people in the queue, but the terrifying thing was that the first spirit ring of this group of people was 1,000 years old. How is this possible? A feminine voice instantly rang out in the Spirit Hall. Chapter 49 The Kingdom comes to pay tribute, the voice of Shenming. My brothers collapsed after getting an injection today, they couldn't hold on any longer. Chapter 49 All nations come to pay homage, the voice of Shenming. The first soul ring is 1,000 years old, which has exceeded the limit of the soul ring age that a soul master can absorb and bear for the first soul ring. P.S. A certain master's theory of the top 10 martial soul competitions was just published not long ago, and then it exploded, because from today onwards, the maximum age of people's first soul ring is set at 1,000 years, not for anything else, because in the eyes of all the national representatives on the continent, they saw it with their own eyes. How is this possible? Among the representatives of the Wiccan Hall, a neutral-looking man with blonde hair, who could not be identified as a man or a woman, stared at the parade on Timing Square. "Elder, I heard that there are 3 armies in the Ming Empire, 2 of which are invincible on the battlefield of the 2 empires, and have never lost. The Great Snow Dragon Cavalry, and the Dragon Guards. The Dragon Guards are also called the Dragon Armor Army. In the Battle of Gilai City, they fought 100,000 against 500,000, causing more than half of the enemy's casualties, successfully delaying the arrival of the Ming army, and laying the foundation for the victory of the Ming Empire. 100,000 against 500,000, killing 250,000, and successfully delaying the arrival of the Ming army, this kind of record." The representative of the Spirit Hall narrowed his eyes tightly. "I didn't expect that there are people with spirit talents in the army. What are you going to do? How can you let such a person drift into the army?" At this time, spirit masters are very precious, and their status is unprecedentedly high. The Spirit Hall does not want the Ming Empire, which already has a strong military force, to train spirit masters. And they train a large number of them, just like conscription. Report to the elders, the previous Ming Empire, that is, the Tianxing Kingdom, implemented a policy of isolation. The awakening of martial spirits was basically done by them internally, and the popularity rate was not good. In the late Tianxing Kingdom, the policy of the Wiccan Hall was open. Our people entered the Tianxing Kingdom not long ago. They awakened once, but they may not have awakened and cleaned up. Then they encountered the assassination of the previous king and the invasion of the enemy country. We received rumors and evacuated. The elders of the Wiccan Hall looked at the spirited dragon guards on the Timing Square, his eyes full of regret. The first soul ring is 1,000 years old, and the future is promising. It's a pity that the other party was not in the Wiccan Hall when he was young. Otherwise, even if he didn't have the achievements of the elders in the Wiccan Hall, he would still be the backbone of the Wiccan Hall in the future. With full of regret, the elders could only watch the other party go away. Hectares. 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 As the sound of aspirations rang out, a group of children slowly walked behind their dragon guards. They were only 5 or 6 years old, but they had a strange yellow spirit ring floating around their bodies. Shwa. The elders of the Spirit Hall could no longer sit still, and they stood up from their seats. Not only the people at the Spirit Hall, but also the representatives of the 2 empires and the diplomatic envoys of other kingdoms could no longer sit still. What did they see? A group of 5 or 6-year-old children had a bunch of yellow century-old spirit rings floating around their bodies. Dear people of the Ming Empire, those who walked behind you on the right are the strongest Knight Corps of the Ming Empire today, and the invincible division of the Ming Empire's frontline battlefield, the Snow Dragon Cavalry. They have retreated to the second line, but they are still the strongest infantry on land, with a glorious military history, the Dragon Armor Army, and the Dragon Guards. At the beginning of the founding of the Ming dynasty, they were invincible, and their military orders were as firm as a mountain, and they would not retreat until they died. Now that the Ming dynasty is in its heyday, please retreat to the second line, and watch the nations come to pay tribute and listen to the sound of the prosperous Ming dynasty. Shwa. Hula. With the female host's pleasant voice, the whole Ming city suddenly became agitated. The voices went from a little to extremely loud and even. Generals, you have worked hard. All nations come to pay tribute to the prosperous Ming dynasty. All nations come to pay tribute to the prosperous Ming dynasty. All nations come to pay tribute to the prosperous Ming dynasty. The shouts of millions of people scattered the clouds in the sky of Timing Square. All countries on the mainland saw the unprecedented ruling power of the Timing Empire. Coming behind our 2 invincible armies is the Timing Youth Pioneer Corps, representing the hope of the Timing Empire. They are the descendants of martyrs of the Timing Third Army and the Imperial Guard. When they were discovered, they had strong soul master talents. The children you see today are all no older than 6 years old. They are the future of the Timing Soul Masters. The pleasant female voice of the host slowly sounded. Looking at the well-organized explanation, Nian'an nodded with satisfaction. This person is a malleable talent. At least that voice makes people feel happy physically and mentally. 6 years old. The people who came to watch the military parade of the Ming Empire widened their eyes instantly. At the age of 6, he had 10th level soul power and obtained the first soul ring. He could raise his soul power to 10th level within 1 year of awakening his martial spirit and obtain the first soul ring to become a soul master. Then wouldn't the innate soul power be above 8 levels, or even, innate full soul power? But how is this possible? The group of children just now was at least more than 100. How many children in the whole continent have innate full soul power? They are everywhere and I'm in. But the facts are in front of them, so they have to believe it. Capture. An eightfold soul power, so many, but how is this possible? No, this matter, I, the Wooden Hall, must find out what is going on. Tap 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 tap. As the Demon Youth Pioneer group left, waves of neat footsteps suddenly rang out. 50 people walked slowly in the distance. Yellow, purple, blab, 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 2 yellow, 2 purple, 3 blab, 7 soul rings, a total of 50 people, representing 50 soul saints. Bang. Bang bang. Boom. With the roar of the muzzles of their guns, shells were fired one by one, and then exploded, and the sky roared. The pupils of many soul masters present shrank. Because only they can understand the lethality of these 57 ring soul saints. The scene was buzzing, and then there was silence. In the silence of the scene, a group of people in black clothes slowly walked onto the stage. The leader was a girl wearing a black veil. After a long time, the voice of the female host slowly rang out again. Now coming towards us is the Ming Empire's protector of the nation, the Holy Spirit Church. The pupils of the elders of the Spirit Hall shrank fiercely. Confer, title Duo, and, 2 of them. More than 20 soul duos, nearly 50 soul saints. But at this moment, a burst of red golden light flashed. I founded the Ming dynasty, swept across the continent, and stabilized the Ming dynasty. Today, I will review the truth to intimidate all countries and protect our country. I swear here in the name of the first emperor. While I am alive, I will defend the land and expand the borders, sweep across the 4 barbarians to establish the Ming dynasty, and the foundation for eternity. When I die, my body will turn into a dragon soul and protect the Ming dynasty forever. This oath is witnessed by the sun and the moon, and the heaven and earth. A full moon slowly floated out from behind Nian'an, and a golden dragon in the sky suddenly opened its mouth. Countless golden lights flew out of the Ming city and were swallowed crazily by the golden dragon. The golden dragon swooped down in the direction of Nian'an, and suddenly a circle slowly appeared, turning white in an instant, then turning yellow, and the light yellow slowly turned into dark yellow and purple. Chapter 50 United Nations. Chapter 50 United Nations. Bang. 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 Swish. 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 At the moment when something unusual happened at the scene, representatives of almost all countries stood up. At the important moment of the Ming military parade, the Ming Empire in the central square of the military parade was attacked. Who was so bold? Did he not want to live? Before they could figure out what was going on, the picture that suddenly appeared in front of them stunned them instantly. They saw that the 5-clawed golden dragon that originally swooped down towards Nian'an actually began to surrender slowly and strangely when facing Nian'an. Those who look carefully will find that countless golden lights emerged from Ming City, or in other words, the entire Ming territory, flying into the golden dragon's body involuntarily. At this time, the 5-clawed golden dragon is actually growing wildly at a speed visible to the naked eye. It slowly opened its mouth and spit out countless brilliances from its mouth. The brilliance began to slowly condense around Nian'an, and soon formed a soul ring. Slowly changing from white to yellow and then to purple. Bang. There was a roar inside Nian'an's body, and his soul power surged. Level 41. To be honest, Nian'an originally wanted to absorb the 800,000-year soul ring in the system space when he hit free time, and break through the 40th level of Soul Master. But he was really busy and didn't have time, so he kept delaying it. Until now, during the military parade, Nian'an had never thought that countless beliefs emerged around him, causing the national fortune beast to surge, and then the other party actually fed back a soul ring. The age of the soul ring is changing rapidly. Almost in the blink of an eye, it changed from purple to dark purple, blab, and reached the point of 10,000 years. This is a soul ring. Sacrifice, just relying on that soul beast, how is this possible? Yin. The loud dragon roar resounded through the world, and a golden beam of light shot straight into the sky with Ming Square as the center. Bang. Deep in the star forest, feeling such a strong auspicious power, a golden egg covered with golden auspicious clouds in a cave somewhere slowly cracked. Crack. But the next moment, a powerful breath leaked out, and the soul beasts of the entire Tianxing Great Forest were instantly boiling after sensing this breath. The Ming Empire. Countless forces of luck were added around Nian'an, and the black soul ring quickly became as black as ink, black and red, and then the side bottom turned red. Mid-July of the part 2625. After the birth of the first human emperor, the luck of Douluo continent began to appear, and the first generation of luck beasts awakened in the neighboring Xingdou Great Forest. After sensing the breath of the auspicious beast, a huge gorilla, a giant python with a bull's head and a python's body, and a rabbit that was as fast as the wind and as agile as thunder instantly moved. The rabbit was faster and arrived first, followed by the giant python, the gorilla, and a young woman jumped down from the top of the rabbit's head, slowly knelt down, and picked up the little beast that had just hatched. On the other side, after witnessing the strength of the Ming Empire, many countries on the continent, the Spirit Hall, and even the Seven Treasures Glazed sect saw with their own eyes that a soul beast was sacrificed to the Empire of the Ming Empire, and it was a terrifying 100,000-year-old blood-red soul ring. Level 43. Level 45. After reaching the peak of level 45 soul power, the soul power in Nian'an's body stopped growing. From this, it can be seen that the quality of the soul ring spit out by this 5-clawed golden dragon is not as good as the high-quality soul ring rewarded by the system. To be honest. Soul. Dragon King Sword. Red, 200,000 years, golden dragon slash. Ignore all defenses, indestructible, powerful critical strike. Red, 300,000 years, sword intent boundless. Wherever the thought goes, the sword light goes. Red, 500,000 years, sword shadow follows. In war, you can use a little soul power to split a clone, 100% combat power, agility penetration. Red, fortune soul ring, sword chant. The Emperor among weapons, 100% suppression of weapon spirits, mental penetrating attack. The 100,000-year soul ring and the fortune soul ring awarded by the system only provided Nian'an with one soul skill. But the attribute blessing brought to Nian'an is the top among the 100,000-year soul rings. Blood. Everyone stared at the thin but tall figure under their stage. Ordinary people had fear in their eyes, but all the soul masters had a fiery look in their eyes. This is a 100,000-year spirit ring. How many 100,000-year spirit rings can there be in a whole continent? Not to mention the titled Douluo. Now even for the titled Douluo, the best and most common default spirit ring configuration is yellow, yellow, purple, blab, 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 2 yellow, 2 purple, 5 blab, 9 spirit rings. Titled Douluo with a 100,000-year spirit ring is indeed rare. But what about Nian'an? The first spirit ring is 100,000 years old. How old is the Empire of the Ming Dynasty now? In fact, Nian'an's age is not a secret. Because of the blessing of several 100,000-year spirit rings, Nian'an's body may be close to that of a teenager of 12 or 13 years old. It is already the age that can do Li Kun. Report, Elder, it is rumored that the Prince of Tianxing, that is, the current Empire of the Ming Dynasty, was born in early 2629 and ranks 9th among the Tianxing kings. That is, the current Empire of the Ming Dynasty looks young, but his age is indeed not old. 9 is the largest number. The elders of the Spirit Hall did not expect that there would be someone in the world who could do such an extreme evil. The Empire of the Ming Dynasty was only 6 years old, but he had already done what many people dreamed of. He suppressed the 2 empires on the mainland, and the country was visited by thousands of countries. His achievements among soul masters were also remarkable. I am the first Empire of the Ming Dynasty, the Douluo Kingdom. From now on, the Ming Dynasty will take over the peace of the mainland as its own responsibility. Establish an international United Nations, and at the same time, we will establish a joint police department with Xingluo and Tianzhou to guard the peace of the mainland. Common development, common prosperity, and build the best continent. In the next 10 years, Nian'an is not going to start a war, at least not on the surface. Therefore, you must have a reasonable identity, and you can reasonably make suggestions to other countries without starting a war, or even give orders, so the United Nations must be established. In peacetime, if you want to target a country, the best thing is to blockade it economically. Mastering absolute technology, Soul Guide, Nian'an can take anyone he wants to play. You can choose not to come, but if you don't come, it means you are lacking behind. Falling behind does not mean being beaten. No, no, no. It's just that I don't want to beat you today. After hearing Nian'an's words, Kim Ha-gun-dae's face turned pale, thinking that Nian'an was going to stop playing with them after seeing the effect of their NATO and the United Nations. This won't do. His Ha-gun-dae's kingdom has offended the Tianzhou Empire to death. If it weren't for the support of the Ming Dynasty, it might be retaliated badly. The subsequent military parade was Nian'an's reward for the 3 armies. After the military parade, Kim Ha-gun-dae found Nian'an as soon as possible. Your Majesty, I have found a special tribe near the Xingdou Great Forest Mountain Range in Hagen Days. They are light and soft. After being tamed, they are obedient. I specially captured them and presented them as tribute. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.